Chapter 212. Old Mo walked to the side of Mo Qingqing, asking in a low voice, "Qingqing, who are they?" "Grandpa, this is Ouyang Guangxing, a member of the Ouyang aristocrat clan of Grand Xia. His talent is extremely outstanding, and his first astral soul was condensed from an astral soul from the fourth heavenly layer." Mo Qingqing introduced, her words causing Old Mo's eyes to brighten as he cast a deep glance at Ouyang Guangxing. His girlfriend, Jiang Ting, is also someone from an aristocrat clan. Mo Qingqing continued, causing Old Mo to feel a chill in his heart. It seemed like all these years of training had been for naught. How old was Mo Qingqing? How could she be acquainted with so many people from the aristocrat clans? At this moment, a whistling sound drifted over from afar. The gazes of the crowd turned over, only to see a group of silhouettes flying through the air. There were also quite a few people here, and the ones in the lead were 3 young men and women, all of them exuding an extraordinary aura. This caused Old Mo to be stunned. What was going on in the Mo residence today? "Hua Xiaoyun, what business do you have with us?" The woman in the lead was extremely young, only around 18 or 19 years of age. She was clad in a clean, dark green robe, giving off a sense of simplicity and cleanliness. Beside her were 2 young men. Both of them were handsome and had an extraordinary demeanor. When they saw Mo Qingqing, they couldn't help but take a few more glances at her. It was rare to see a woman with such beauty. After which, when they saw Ouyang Guangxing and Jiang Ting, they couldn't help but feel a little strange in their hearts. "Bai Fei, how about I introduce you to a junior sister?" Hua Xiaoyan asked. However, Bai Fei coldly snorted, "Do you know how high the requirement for talent is in our Pill Emperor Hall?" Hua Xiaoyan couldn't help but feel his heart pounding. However, since he had already spoken, he had no choice but to try. If not, wouldn't he lose face in front of so many people? Not only that, didn't Old Mo say that his granddaughter Mo Qingqing had an extraordinary talent in alchemy? Didn't he not lie about her looks earlier? "Don't worry, her talent in alchemy isn't bad, your master will definitely like her." Hua Xiaoyun smiled, "She's right here, why don't you guys test her first?" As he spoke, Hua Xiaoyun pointed his finger at Mo Qingqing. Bai Fei, upon seeing Mo Qingqing, couldn't help but sigh in admiration, while the eyes of the other 2 youths brightened. If they had such a beauty as their junior apprentice sister, they naturally wouldn't mind. "Anyway, master is nearby. Why don't we call her over to test her talent?" a young man said with a smile. Bai Fei glared at her senior brother, but all she saw was a smile on her senior brother's face. His expression was ordinary, and she couldn't tell what he was thinking. "Hee, I hope you can pass on my message." Hua Xiaoyun laughed. Ouyang Guangxing, who was at the side, seemed to have understood something as he turned to Bai Fei and asked, "Bai Fei from the Pill Emperor Hall, is your master the daughter of the Pill Emperor? If that's the case, what does it have to do with you?" Bai Fei's voice contained hints of pride. Her master was indeed the beloved daughter of the Pill Emperor of the Pill Emperor Hall, and her talent in alchemy was extremely high. "You have a sharp mouth, but it's a pity that I don't quarrel with women." Ouyang Guangxing laughed. "Mo Qingqing, if it's really her, you can consider it carefully. I'll take my leave first." After speaking, Ouyang Guangxing led the way, appearing extremely carefree and at ease. Bai Fei coldly glanced at him and said with some disdain, "What a joke. I've never heard of anyone considering my master's disciple." Evidently, Ouyang Guangxing's words had caused her to be extremely unhappy. Old Man Mo's heart was filled with excitement. The daughter of a Dan king? He had never imagined that Mo Qingqing would have such a good fortune. He then turned to Bai Fei and the rest and politely stated, "Everyone, please enter my humble abode for a chat. Since you're already here, why don't you take a seat first? What if your master really thinks highly of her talent?" Hua Xiaoyun laughed, as Bai Fei and the rest lightly nodded their heads. Qin Wenyan didn't know of the events that transpired here. After parting ways with Chu Wei, he returned to the bamboo lodge where he'd once lived in the past, and sat by the riverside, quietly cultivating, comprehending the power of his astral souls. "Ha, Wenyan, you're indeed here. Seems like it's not too difficult to gather information about you." A clear voice drifted over from afar, causing Qin Wenyan to be taken aback. Although he didn't hide anything when he returned to the bamboo lodge, there were still many spies in the vicinity. Now that someone had arrived, yet no one came to report to him, it was naturally strange. But when he saw Ouyang Guangxing and the rest of his entourage, he finally understood. Unknowingly, Qing'e was already standing not far away from Qin Wenyin. Upon seeing Ouyang Guangxing, she silently vanished. She had personally witnessed the refinement grounds of the Celestial Lake and knew that Ouyang Guangxing and Qin Wenyin had a good relationship. "Ouyang, why did you come to Chu?" Qin Wenyin exclaimed in astonishment. "There's a demonic beast forest outside of Chu, and a celestial phenomenon ascendant appeared there, causing a huge commotion in the Grand Xia Empire. I came here together with my clan, but since I have nothing to do now, I remembered that you were in Chu, so I decided to come here to take a look." Ouyang Guangxing and Jiang Ting landed on the ground. Qin Wenyin was speechless. He didn't expect that he was the one who caused the commotion. And from Ouyang Guangxing's words, that statue was the body of a demonic sovereign. "The body of a demonic sovereign you speak of, are you referring to the body of a demonic beast or a human?" Qin Wenyin asked. "Both, but that human's body is even more extraordinary. Those elders of the clan are researching it, and I heard that the blood of the primordial tribe flowed through its veins before it died. As for which ancient tribe it belonged to, I'm afraid it's hard to confirm." Chu Tianjiao indifferently replied, his words causing Qin Wenyan's eyes to flash with a strange light. "The bloodline of the primordial tribe? I wonder what triggered the bloodline of that demonic sovereign, causing the Venerate Heavens sect to spread the rumor that a demonic star descended from the heavens." Ouyang Guangxing shook his head as he continued, "Oh yeah, there's one more thing I need to tell you. Earlier when I went to the Mo residence, I met your girlfriend Mo Qingqing. What's going on with that Hua Xiaoyun? Don't tell me he's a love rival? Why would he introduce a sect to Mo Qingqing?" "I'm not too sure either. That Hua Xiaoyun should be acquainted with Qingqing's grandfather. Not only that, it seems that Qingqing's grandfather likes him a lot and doesn't really care about people from Chu." Qin Wenyin bitterly smiled as he shook his head, "But as for matters regarding a sect, I believe that Qingqing will have her own ideas." With regards to Mo Qingqing, Qin Wenyin didn't have any doubts at all. Back then when he was being ambushed by Janice, this silly girl had used her back to block an attack for him. Not long ago, she had suffered countless hardships in the dark forest just to warn him of the dangers of Chu. Not only that, she was so outstanding, how could Qin Wenyin not cherish her? "That's easy. Do you want me to help you remind that old man?" Ouyang Guangxing laughed. "No need, I'll let Qingqing handle it herself. It's not good for me to interfere with her family." Qin Wenyin naturally didn't want to ruin the relationship between him and the Mo clan. "I didn't say anything about dealing with him." Ouyang Guangxing's eyes flickered. It was unknown what he was thinking. "Oh yes, there's one more thing. Although they were looking for a sect for Mo Qingqing, that Hua Xiaoyun actually managed to find the daughter of the Pill Emperor. What a freak combination of factors. I feel that if the daughter of the Pill Emperor truly approves of Mo Qingqing's talent, you can rest assured and allow Mo Qingqing to join the Pill Emperor Hall." Ouyang Guangxing analyzed, "You will definitely leave Chu for the Grand Xia Empire. Based on your talent, don't tell me you want Mo Qingqing to be left behind by you? If she joins the Pill Emperor Hall, wouldn't the Pill Emperor Hall be able to nurture a powerful alchemist girlfriend for you? As long as the daughter of the Pill Emperor approves of Mo Qingqing, no one would dare to bully her. No matter how I look at it, I feel that this is a good deal. But of course, this still has to depend on your own opinion. Are you confident in this relationship?" Ouyang Guangxing laughed. "I'm not worried about that. Even if Mo Qingqing has a change of heart, there's no need for me to stop her." Qin Wenyin felt that Ouyang Guangxing's words were logical. After he settled the matters in Chu, he would enter the Grand Xia Empire. If Mo Qingqing joined the Pill Emperor Hall, wouldn't that be the same as entering the Grand Xia Empire? "It's good that you can think this way. That fellow Hua Xiaoyun has indeed done a good deed." Ouyang Guangxing felt that this matter was too interesting. "Why are you laughing so happily?" Jiang Ting glared at him. "Jiang Ting, you have to know that Hua Xiaoyun doesn't have the qualifications to invite the Pill Emperor's beloved daughter. If Hua Xiaoyun really went to the Mo clan, it would definitely be because of his elder brother. Isn't it interesting that this spoiled brat is using the name of his elder brother to help Mo Qingqing? Ouyang Guangxing seemed to be in a good mood as he continued, "Okay, let's observe the situation for now. I heard that you encountered some trouble in Chu, can I help you settle it?" Qin Wendian glanced at the experts that Ouyang Guangxing had brought with him. Most probably, there were several powerful Yuanfu cultivators among them. "I won't be polite then." Qin Wendian laughed. This was truly a divine weapon that descended from the heavens. In order to uproot the royal clan of Chu, Qin Wendian didn't mind borrowing the strength of external forces. This wasn't a battle of morality, it was a battle that concerned the fate of the Emperor Star Academy and the Qin clan. The commotion in the royal capital had yet to subside, and in fact, it was getting more and more intense. In the dark forest, there were several powers that were stirring restlessly. As for the Qin residents outside the royal capital, after clearing up the pursuers, they once again returned to the royal capital, preparing to launch an even more violent attack. Not only that, many people received news that Qin Wendian was in contact with a powerful external power. This caused the various powers in the royal palace to be in a state of turmoil. They could faintly sense that the Chu clan of Chu was about to face their doomsday. However, with regards to the happenings in the royal capital, the Mo residents didn't care at all. Currently, the gazes of the entire Mo residents were all focused on Mo Qingqing, as well as those external experts who were guests in the Mo residence. Mo Qingqing wanted to leave the Mo residence, but she was prevented from doing so. Finally, by Fei's master, a female from the Pill Emperor Hall, arrived at the Mo residence. Everyone in the Mo residence bowed in welcome. It was said that this was a powerful alchemist from the Pill Emperor Hall of Grand Xia. Her cultivation base alone was enough to dominate the entire Chu country. Not only that, her attainments in alchemy, as well as her background, were all extremely shocking. The conclusion was that Mo Qingqing truly had an astonishing talent in alchemy. That powerful character from the Pill Emperor Hall was willing to accept her as a disciple, causing the entire Mo residence to be in an uproar. Chapter 213. In the Mo clan, the daughter of the Pill Emperor, Luo He, had already left. However, the entire Mo residence was still immersed in joy. This was especially so for old Mo and Mo Qingqing's parents. How could they not be happy about Mo Qingqing's good fortune? "Xiaoyan, I'm really thankful to you this time around." Old Mo politely thanked Hua Xiaoyan, but Bai Fei, who was standing beside him, couldn't help but twitch her lips. Thankful to Hua Xiaoyan? If it weren't for Mo Qingqing's talent, would her master have accepted her as a disciple? If it weren't for the fact that Hua Xiaoyun had an elder brother, her master wouldn't even bother to pay a visit to the Mo residence. Qingqing has a 7 apertures heart, that's why Senior Luo He valued her so highly. This has nothing to do with me, old Mo, there's no need to be so polite. Hua Xiaoyun laughed. This time around, the results of Luo He's examination of Mo Qingqing's talent had shocked him as well. Mo Qingqing actually had a 7 apertures heart? If that was the case, Mo Qingqing would definitely become a heaven's chosen in the future. No wonder she looked so pure and serene. At this moment, Hua Xiaoyun was already thinking that if he could form a good relationship with Mo Qingqing, it would definitely be a good choice. In fact, if he could woo her, because of this, Hua Xiaoyan decided to stay in the Mo residence for a long time. This way, he would be able to get closer to Mo Qingqing. I didn't expect this either. Old Mo laughed heartily. Even the spectators from afar could hear his laughter, and from this, one could see how excited he was. Indeed, the major characters in the outside world were different. Back in Chu, he didn't even know what a 7 apertures heart was. No matter how high Mo Qingqing's talent was, it would still be buried. The group of people arrived in front of a courtyard. Old Mo asked the guard, "Is Qingqing still throwing a tantrum?" Miss, she insists on going out." The guard bowed helplessly. Old Mo's countenance turned heavy as he stepped into the courtyard. Upon seeing Mo Qingqing standing there, glaring at the guard, he shouted, "What nonsense!" Mo Qingqing stared at Old Man Mo, her beautiful eyes filled with determination as she stated, "Grandpa, you even want to restrict my freedom?" In that case, I will definitely not go to the Pill Emperor Hall. I also don't care how powerful the Pill Emperor Hall is. Impudent. Old Mo berated, glancing at Bai Fei and the others beside him. As expected, Bai Fei's brows were furrowed in displeasure. Although Mo Qingqing had a 7 apertures divine heart, without the nurturing of the Pill Emperor Hall, her talent would still be wasted. Now, it seemed like the Pill Emperor Hall was the one begging her to join them. One must know how many geniuses wanted to enter the Pill Emperor Hall but were rejected. Qingqing, don't say such angry words in the future, old Hiroshi said sternly. I'm not saying this out of anger. Grandpa, even if you force me to go, I won't work hard in my cultivation. Mo Qingqing's beautiful eyes stared at old Mo as she stubbornly stated. Old Mo was so angry that his chest heaved up and down. Upon seeing Mo Qingqing staring at him, he stated, Fine, I will let you out, but you must have someone following you. In that case, I'm leaving. Mo Qingqing soared up into the air, causing old Mo to be so angry that he was speechless. Elder Mo, I'll go take care of junior sister. You don't have to worry. The young man beside Bai Fei stated with a smile. Old Mo nodded his head. If that's the case, that would be for the best. Jing Yu and Yan Qi nodded their heads as they soared up into the air. Bai Fei was stunned for a moment before she stomped her feet and left as well. These 2 rascals, upon seeing Mo Qingqing's outstanding talent and beauty, they immediately had thoughts of her. How practical. In the past, they had always revolved around her. After Mo Qingqing left the Mo residence, she sped towards the bamboo cabin to look for Qin Wenyan. Seeing the look of grievance on Mo Qingqing's face, Qin Wenyan walked up and pinched her exquisite cheeks as he laughed. What's wrong? Who bullied my Qingqing? Smelly Dumbo, you still have the mood to joke around? Mo Qingqing glared at Qin Wenyan with hidden bitterness in her eyes. Don't be sad, isn't it a good thing that the daughter of the Pill Emperor values your talent? In the future, you will be an extremely powerful alchemist. Qin Wenyan smiled, as though he was consoling Mo Qingqing. In truth, how could he not feel reluctant in his heart? But he couldn't be too selfish, as there was nothing he could do to help Mo Qingqing in her cultivation. 7 apertures heart, I've never heard of such a talent before. It must be extremely powerful. Qin Wenyan laughed. Mo Qingqing's mood improved after seeing Qin Wenyan trying to console her. She inched closer to Qin Wenyan, and their gazes met. It was as though they could feel each other's heartbeat and breathing. A gentle and radiant smile appeared in Mo Qingqing's eyes, so beautiful that it caused Qin Wenyan's heartbeat to quicken. Mo Qingqing rested her head on his chest as she hugged him tightly with her slender arms. She murmured, As long as you say no, I won't go. Go, why not go? Qin Wenyan gently stroked Mo Qingqing's hair as he gazed into the horizons. At this moment, his emotions were extremely complicated. He hoped that Mo Qingqing would have a good future, but at the same time, he couldn't bear to see her leave. When you enter the Pill Emperor Hall, given how outstanding you are, there will definitely be many suitors chasing after you. The pressure will be immense. Qin Wenyan joked. Mo Qingqing peeked her head out from Qin Wenyan's embrace. Looking at Qin Wenyan's expression, she couldn't help but giggle. You're jealous? In that case, you have to work hard. After speaking, she raised her dainty fist towards Qin Wenyan. Naturally. Qin Wenyan smiled and nodded. The 2 of them sat down by the riverside, quietly leaning against each other as they enjoyed this rare moment of peace. Today's sunset was exceptionally beautiful. Red clouds floated in the horizon, and Qin Wenyan and Mo Qingqing sat there, gazing at the setting sun. It was as though they were weaving a beautiful painting together. No matter how beautiful the sunset is, will it still have to fade away in the end? Seeing the darkness of the night slowly approaching, Mo Qingqing felt some sadness in her heart. After which, she stood up and jogged away. Where are you going? Qin Wenyan stood up and followed after Mo Qingqing. After which, they arrived at the small house where Mo Qingqing's body was lying on the bed. Her eyes that were as clear as water were currently looking at him. What's wrong? Qin Wenyan walked up and asked in a low voice. I'll stay here tonight. Mo Qingqing's voice was extremely soft, almost inaudible. Qin Wenyan stared at her, only to see Mo Qingqing's face gradually turning red. Her beautiful eyes flashed with shyness, and he instantly understood what she meant. In his heart, a warm current flowed past. Very, very warm. Silly girl. Qin Wenyan squatted down beside the bed and lightly kissed Mo Qingqing's fragrant lips. Mo Qingqing's beautiful eyes widened as her face instantly turned bright red. She slowly closed her eyes, not knowing how to respond. She simply allowed Qin Wenyan to kiss her. Their lips parted. Qin Wenyan smiled when he saw Mo Qingqing's blushing face. Let's go back. I still have to go to the Mo residence to propose marriage in the future. Mo Qingqing felt touched in her heart. She sat up and planted a kiss on Qin Wenyan's forehead. After which, she turned and walked out of the house. When she reached the door, she turned back and smiled sweetly at Qin Wenyan. I'll wait for you to settle your matters in Chu before I leave. I'll accompany you until the end of your journey. Qin Wenyan, you snatched away my first kiss. You're not allowed to cast me aside in this lifetime. If not, I won't forgive you. A radiant smile appeared on her face as Mo Qingqing ran away. At the instant she turned, her smiling eyes gradually became moist, as though a teardrop was about to flow down her cheeks. Qin Wenyan stood up and followed after Mo Qingqing, his eyes filled with reluctance to part. Outside the bamboo forest, Yan Qi and Jing Yu were blocked by Ouyang Quangxing, their countenances extremely unsightly. The sky was already dark, yet Mo Qingqing still hadn't come out. This made them feel extremely uncomfortable. But at this moment, a graceful silhouette slowly walked out. Ouyang Quangxing turned his head, and when he saw the tears in Mo Qingqing's eyes, his heart involuntarily stirred. What kind of emotions were hidden within the beautiful eyes of this young lady? Mo Qingqing didn't even bother to look at the people here. She directly soared up into the air and flew away, causing the people here to be stunned. Qin Wenyan slowly followed after her, sighing in his heart as he stared at her departing silhouette. However, a look of longing could be seen in his eyes. Qin Wenyan, you snatched away my first kiss. You're not allowed to cast me aside in this lifetime. If not, I won't forgive you. The voice of the young lady resounded in his ears, filled with emotions. He knew that in this lifetime he would never be able to forget this kind and innocent young lady. Jing Yu frowned as he glanced at Qin Wenyan. Are you Qin Wenyan? Qin Wenyan stared at Jing Yu, his countenance calm. Was this person also the disciple of the Pill Emperor's daughter, Luo He? His gaze was filled with unfriendliness. Regardless of what relationship you had with Mo Qingqing in the past, from now on, you have to give up on such thoughts. The two of you are not on the same level. Luan Feng is destined to never be together with Jackdaw. Jing Yu indifferently stated as he stared at Qin Wenyan. Mo Qingqing, who possessed the 7 apertures heart, would definitely have a place in the Pill Emperor Hall in the future. That's right, there are many people who were childhood sweethearts when they were young. However, as the disparity in their statuses grew, the difference in status between them would be unbridgeable. No matter how close they were in the past, they would eventually drift apart. You'd better give up soon, don't have any more delusions, or you'll only be courting death. Yan Qi's tone was even more impolite, indifferent and cold. Bai Fei glanced at Qin Wenyan. Although she didn't like Mo Qingqing, her master still placed great importance on her. Hence, she added, just give up, it's best for both of you. After speaking, the 3 from the Pill Emperor Hall departed together, leaving behind a dumbfounded Ouyang Quangxing. Wasn't this motherfucker a little too arrogant? Even he, Ouyang Quangxing, wasn't this arrogant? These alchemists are all like this. Being able to concoct some of the medicinal pills Wu Xiu requires, they're often begged by powerful characters. They've already gotten used to it, thinking that they're so extraordinary. Don't mind it too much. Ouyang Quangxing seemed to be consoling Qin Wenyan, causing Qin Wenyan to be somewhat bewildered. So it turned out that this arrogant fellow also knew how to console others. Don't worry, just like what they said, Luan Feng wouldn't be together with Jackdaw. In that case, Kirin wouldn't mind the gazes of an ordinary horse. Qin Wenyan laughed. Ouyang Quangxing froze for a moment upon hearing his words, before he laughed uproariously. That's right, Kirin, there's no need to mind the gazes of an ordinary horse. Chapter 214. The news of Imo Qingqing being valued by a transcendent power caused a huge wave of commotion in the royal capital. However, the majority of the people were still focused on the fight for the throne. After all, the battle for the throne was about to begin, and it seemed to be closer to them. The Qin clan's troops roamed around the outskirts of the royal capital, frenziedly attacking this ancient capital city. The troops led by Chu gradually felt that the royal capital was too terrifying, and they wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. However, Chu Tianjiao didn't seem to be in a hurry. Today, he stood at the top of the sky platform, casting his gaze into the horizons. Back then, they had respectfully welcomed the experts from the Nine Mystical Palace. However, after that, the Nine Mystical Palace did something that caused the foundations of the royal clan to waver. The ancestor of Chu had fallen, and although Dai was captured by the Nine Mystical Palace, it wasn't enough to compensate for the losses the royal clan had suffered. The ancestor of the Chu country was the strongest force of the royal family. He was the foundation of the royal family, the pillar of support. One could imagine how great the impact of his death would be. However, to the Nine Mystical Palace, the Chu country didn't even have the guts to reprimand the Nine Mystical Palace. Not only that, in this moment of crisis, they once again sent out a distress signal to the Nine Mystical Palace. After all, they knew that there were many experts from the Nine Mystical Palace hiding in the dark forest outside of Chu. Chu Tianjiao's eyes flashed with a hint of a smile. With the support of the Nine Mystical Palace, in addition to the trump cards of the royal clan, this battle would be won for sure. The Qin clan would be destroyed for sure. Brother Luo, it's been a while since we last met. You look even more elegant than before. Chu Tianjiao's gaze landed on a young man. This young man exuded an extraordinary aura. His robes fluttered in the wind, yet his countenance was as cold as ice, giving off a chill. This young man was none other than Luo Qianxiu, a former disciple of the Nine Mystical Palace. Luo Qianxiu had returned, he had returned to Chu. His aura was no longer as arrogant as before, but it was colder, more sinister, and even contained a hint of demonic intent. As for his strength, it was obvious that he was much stronger than before. This time, he returned to Chu for no other reason than to wash away the humiliation he had suffered in the past. He wanted to use the fresh blood of Qin Wenyan to pay tribute to the humiliation he had suffered during the Junlin banquet. The defeat at the Junlin banquet was something he would never be able to forget. It was also the motivation for him to continue advancing. He had done it. Relying on that stubborn will of his, he broke through to Yuanfu and condensed an even stronger astral soul. Not only that, under that frenzied state of mind, he broke through to the second level of Yuanfu and comprehended the power of will. The mandate of thunder and lightning allowed him to possess an even more tyrannical attack power. In order to comprehend this mandate, his third astral soul was condensed from an astral soul that contained tyrannical lightning might. Evidently, he had succeeded. Right now, not to mention those at the second level of Yuanfu, even those at the third level of Yuanfu had been defeated by him. His status in the Nine Mystical Palace had risen by leaps and bounds. And precisely because of this, the experts of the Nine Mystical Palace decided to bring him along when the demonic star appeared in the Chu country. The current Qin Wenyan already had the qualifications to be regarded highly by the Nine Mystical Palace. For his sake, the Nine Mystical Palace specially sent a group of experts to accompany him to the royal capital of Chu, helping him to resolve the knot in his heart. Kill Qin Wenyan. At the moment when the experts from the Nine Mystical Palace arrived at the royal capital of Chu, Qian Mingyu quietly stood in an inn. Behind her, there was someone reporting something to her. The experts from the Nine Mystical Palace have arrived as well? Qian Mingyu murmured. She had heard that a junior from the Nine Mystical Palace named Luo Qianxiu had entered a state of madness and comprehended the power of will. This person was none other than the one who had been defeated by Qin Wenyan during the Junlin banquet and had fled the Chu country with his tail between his legs. Now that he had returned, his intentions were clear even without words. Who would have thought that this matter would be so complicated? Aunt sent me here to recruit Qin Wenyan to the Green Cloud Pavilion, and at the same time, to help him resolve any problems he might encounter. However, Ouyang Guangxing's relationship with Qin Wendian is exceedingly good. If he really wants to go, there's a high possibility that he will join the Ouyang aristocrat clan. Qian Mingyu silently mused. Currently, she already knew of the grudge between her aunt and Gong Yanghong, and Gong Yanghong was none other than the person who had helped Qin Wendian during the Jun Lin banquet. This allowed her to form a connection with Qin Wendian, and she couldn't help but sigh at the wonders of fate. She also didn't know if Qin Wendian would still care about the refinement of the celestial lake. Currently, the waters of the royal capital of Chu were extremely deep. She hoped that everything would go smoothly. Even if Qin Wendian didn't follow her to the Green Cloud Pavilion, if he really encountered trouble, she would still help Qin Wendian resolve it. Other than the instructions of her aunt, she also felt somewhat guilty in her heart for the refinement of the celestial lake. Back then, Qin Wendian was willing to share the stellar fruits with them, yet they wanted to hog the majority of the spoils for themselves. This matter wasn't very appropriate. In the entire royal capital, a storm was brewing. And this time around, it was the ultimate storm. It was very possible that the situation of the royal capital in the next few days would determine the fate of the Chu country, as well as who the emperor would belong to. That oppressive aura permeated the atmosphere of the royal capital of Chu, enveloping every single person within it. Today, a piece of news suddenly circulated around the royal capital of Chu. Over 10 young maidens had actually gone missing. However, this didn't cause too much of a commotion, especially when the decisive battle was about to begin. Very quickly, the news was drowned out. However, on the second day, the same news circulated again. Not only that, there were even some young maidens that had yet to reach the age of 10. Gradually, this news attracted a lot of attention. On the third day, it was rumored that the number of young maidens that had gone missing in the royal capital had already exceeded 100. Momentarily, the hearts of the people started to panic. Those who had young maidens in their families all hid them well, not allowing them to take even half a step outside, as though they were afraid that the god of plague would descend upon them. The news of someone abducting young maidens began to circulate, and gradually, the momentum of this news became even more terrifying. This caused a huge wave of condemnation. Who would be so cruel as to specifically target young maidens? This was simply infuriating to the heavens. On the fourth day, those who had lost their children began to circulate in the royal capital, forming a terrifying torrent. With so many young maidens going missing, it was impossible for the royal clan to not know about it. Outside the heavenly martial gate, the soldiers of the royal clan were suppressing those who were condemning the royal capital. Chu Wei, who was clad in white, stood on the roof of a building, gazing at the people of the royal capital who were emitting a towering aura of resentment. A look of agony flashed in his eyes. A general success was built on the bones of 10,000 people. Sometimes, in order to achieve a certain goal, one would be unscrupulous. No matter how much one sacrificed, those in power would still turn a blind eye to it. Sometimes, human nature would become extremely cold. Chu Wei, who was born in the royal clan, was deeply aware of this. And now, had he finally reached this step? When he opened his eyes again, an incomparably resolute light flickered within. Since this was the case, he could only go against his father's dying wish. Spread the word, I, Chu Wei, want the throne of Chu. Chu Wei indifferently stated, his words causing the hearts of those behind him to tremble violently. After which, a terrifying glint of sharpness could be seen in their eyes. One of them bowed and retreated. When he turned around, his eyes were filled with an incomparable determination, as well as excitement. Had this day finally arrived? Elder brother, I've long been waiting for this day. Only you are the most suitable candidate for the throne of the Chu emperor. Chu Mang grinned. In his eyes, there was only his elder brother, not his third brother. Chu Wei turned and looked at Chu Mang with a gentle light flickering in his eyes. Second brother, after the matters in Chu are concluded, do you want to go out and roam the world? Chu Mang's eyes widened in bewilderment as he stared at Chu Wei. Based on your talent, you should go out and roam the world. Elder brother is a cripple. I don't want to be a burden to you for the rest of your life. Chu Wei gently stated. I'm not going out, I want to accompany elder brother. Chu Meng roared. In his eyes, his elder brother was the only person who didn't despise him. Chu Meng knew that he was stupid, and had been since he was young. No one was willing to be together with him, only his elder brother would play with him. Not only that, his elder brother had read many books, and although he didn't know how to cultivate, he would still teach him. Chu Meng also put in his heart to learn, and as he learned, more and more people were willing to interact with him. Many even said that he was a genius. However, Chu Meng still didn't like those people. In his eyes, only his elder brother, Chu Wei, was his closest kin. He, Chu Meng, would only listen to his elder brother. But this time around he couldn't do so. Blockhead, do you know how high your talent is? If you had a good teacher, there wouldn't be many in the entire Chu country who could be compared to you. At the very least, I've only seen one person who can compare to you. How can you not go out and roam the world? Chu Wei calmly persuaded. Not only that, my lifespan is definitely not as long as yours. When I die of old age, what will you do? Who will take care of you? No! Chu Meng howled, tears could be seen in his gigantic eyes. It was hard to imagine that a towering man like him would actually cry. Elder brother won't die. I won't allow you to die. If you die, I die too, Chu Meng roared. Chu Wei's gaze gradually turned sharp, and under his intense gaze, Chu Meng slowly calmed down. After which, Chu Wei berated, "You are not allowed to say such words again. After the matters in Chu are settled, you have to leave. I've already thought of a person who will take care of you. From now on, you will follow him." Seeing that Chu Meng was about to speak again, Chu Wei reprimanded, "You are not allowed to say the word no again. If not, don't acknowledge me as your elder brother." What? Chu Meng didn't say anything, but a hoarse roar rang out from his throat. It was as though he was in extreme pain, yet he didn't dare to disobey his elder brother's words. Chu Wei was as cold as ever. After which, he slowly turned around and stared into the distance. His eyes were as resolute as ever, but how could he not feel pain in his heart? However, could it be that Chu Meng would follow him for the rest of his life? Wouldn't that be a waste of his talent? Chu Wei shouldn't be his own shadow, he should be the one radiating boundless radiance instead. When the news of Chu Wei wanting to sit on the throne circulated around the royal capital, it caused an earth-shattering commotion. It was unknown how many nobles felt their hearts trembling. That outstanding third prince of the past, after becoming the emperor, didn't even have the chance to display his ambitions. He hadn't even sat on the throne for a long time, yet he was already going to die. Chapter 215. The chaos in the Qin residence had already caused the entire Chu country to be in a precarious state. Now that the first prince had announced his intention to seize the throne, one could very well imagine the commotion caused. Not only that, there were already some who had already started to prepare their own paths of retreat. They needed to choose which side to stand on. All these years, the first prince had never appeared before the curtains of the Chu royal family. However, those at the peak of the power pyramid in Chu all knew how strong Chu Wei's influence was. If he was the only one competing against Chu Tianjiao, there was a high chance that he would lose. After all, Chu Tianjiao was the successor of the previous emperor, and was the legitimate successor. Naturally, there would be many supporters for him. But now, with the addition of the Qin residents, Chu Tianjiao was facing both internal and external threats. How could anyone still have confidence in him? Some of the neutral nobles didn't even dare to participate in this battle for the royal clan. They were worried that if they chose the wrong side, they would attract a calamity. After which, a book of sins was written by the first prince, Chu Wei. This book of sins was written by the first prince, Chu Wei, announcing the sins of the royal clan. First crime: King Wu's martial prowess was unrivaled, and he deserved to live out his remaining years in peace. However, the previous emperor was jealous of his loyal subjects, and caused King Wu to die with injustice. Second crime: the Qin clan had served the Chu country for their entire lives, and the royal clan was unjust, suppressing the loyal subjects, and causing General Qin Wu to be imprisoned. Third crime: for the sake of the royal clan, they disregarded the lives of their soldiers and started a war, causing countless families to break apart. Fourth crime, wielding the power of the Chu country, they did whatever they wanted. Using young girls as bait, they slaughtered the innocent. Cruel and tyrannical, unscrupulous, unforgivable, their crimes towering to the heavens. Every crime blamed the royal clan, and even stated that it was the fault of the previous emperor. Such boldness had never been seen before in the 3,000 years of Chu's history. But what was even more shocking was the content of each crime. This undoubtedly proved that the previous emperor was guilty of harming the loyal subjects of the Chu country. As for the fourth crime, it caused an even greater uproar in the royal capital. Voices of rage filled the skies and covered the earth, filling the entire ancient royal capital. The royal clan was tyrannical, but no one would have thought that it would be so cruel and tyrannical, using the lives of young girls to cultivate an evil cultivation technique. If it wasn't for the Crown Prince Chu Wei saying this, ordinary people would never have thought that the source of this evil was actually the royal clan they believed in. At the same time, this also made people deeply feel the cruelty of power. Those people from the big forces definitely knew some inside information. However, everyone kept their mouths shut, and no one dared to say anything. Their hatred for Chu Tianjiao had reached an unprecedented height. Many people even made the decision to overthrow the emperor and kill Chu Tianjiao. Nobody would have thought that Chu Wei would do such a crazy thing. Not only did he push Chu Tianjiao into the abyss, he also pushed the entire Chu royal clan into an extremely difficult position. To the Qin clan, which was currently advancing towards the imperial city, this was undoubtedly the most advantageous. After which, Chu Wei's voice rang out again. He, Chu Wei, was born a cripple and was unable to cultivate. He was willing to dedicate the rest of his life to the people of Chu. He would build a statue of General Qin Wu to guard the entrance of the martial gate of the royal palace. At the same time, he would clear the name of the Qin clan's troops, saying that they weren't rebels, but rather, they were the righteous army that overthrew the tyrannical emperor. At the same time, he would give the people of Chu an explanation for the disappearance of the young girl. When this piece of news circulated throughout the royal capital, many people acknowledged Chu Wei's character, but they felt that Chu Wei had gone crazy. He wanted to clear the name of the Qin clan? He wanted to allow the Qin clan to enter the royal capital and join forces with them to deal with Chu Tianjiao. But what about the attitude of the Qin clan? Even if Chu Tianjiao was overthrown in the end, would the Qin clan still be able to accommodate the royal clan and allow Chu Wei to become the new emperor? Power was filled with temptation, especially when the royal clan had let down the Qin clan. Chu Wei even wanted to clear the name of the Qin clan. In that case, even if the Qin clan truly overthrew the royal clan, as long as they didn't make a move against Chu Wei and didn't kill anyone from the royal clan, who could say that the Qin clan was in the wrong? Nobody knew what Chu Wei was thinking. In fact, even Chu Tianjiao didn't understand. Sitting in the great hall of the royal palace, for the first time, Chu Tianjiao felt a sense of pressure gushing towards him. Just when he was preparing to deal a fatal blow to the Qin clan's troops, not only did Chu Wei not help him, he even stood in opposition to him. Not only that, the fourth crime was a trump card he had prepared. Big brother, big brother, it's fine if you didn't support me. But since this is the case, don't blame me for disregarding our brotherhood. A cold light flickered in Chu Tianjiao's eyes as he asked in a low voice, "Have the Shadow Dragon Guards entered the royal capital?" Unknowingly, a silhouette appeared behind Chu Tianjiao. He bowed and replied, "Your Majesty, they've already entered the royal capital and are ready to receive your orders at any time." Don't mobilize the Shadow Dragon Guards yet. Wait for my command, the others can move out. It's time to pick a side," Chu Tianjiao indifferently stated. After which, the silhouette disappeared, as though he was nothing more than a shadow. After the silhouette left, Chu Tianjiao stood up. His gaze was incomparably cold as he walked out of the great hall. A storm would eventually descend. Within the royal capital, a terrifying undercurrent was surging madly. Chu Wei and Chu Tianjiao were vying for the throne, and the officials had to choose their own side. If they didn't choose, Chu Tianjiao would force them to. In the royal capital of Chu, there was a gigantic residence that exuded an aura of elegance. At the outermost perimeter of the residence, there was a vast public square. Gigantic pillars made of white jade stood there, exuding the aura of 9 dragons spitting out water. At the front of the public square, there was a pavilion, and on the rooftop of the pavilion, a banquet was being prepared. Chu Wei sat there, as though he was waiting for someone. From afar, in the white jade public square, a single silhouette walked over. Qin Wendian walked on the public square. This place was extremely quiet, yet he knew that as long as there was a commotion, many experts would instantly appear. Although he hadn't appeared in public for the past few days, he was extremely clear about the situation in the royal capital. In fact, he knew that the intensity of the storm had already reached a tipping point and was about to erupt. Not only that, the next eruption would be the decisive battle that would determine the fate of Chu. Brother Qin. Chu Wei stood on the rooftop of the pavilion, gazing down at Qin Wenyin as he smiled. The banquet has been prepared for quite some time. Qin Wentian's footsteps trembled as he soared up into the air, swiftly arriving at the rooftop of the pavilion. He didn't know what Chu Wei's intentions were for inviting him to a banquet at such a time. However, Chu Wei's Book of Sins caused him to feel extremely confident. On the rooftop, there was a banquet table with only 2 people seated facing each other. Your Highness. Just as Qin Wendian was about to speak, Chu Wei waved his hands as he stared at Qin Wenyin. If you don't mind, how about calling me Big Bro Chu? Qin Wenyin stared at Chu Wei's gentle gaze, as though it contained a unique charm, causing people to feel extremely comfortable. He smiled. Big Bro Chu, is there anything I can help you with today? The skies of Chu are about to change, yet you are still so calm. Chu Wei laughed. Let everything that happened in Chu end here. Big Bro Chu, you seem to be very confident? Qin Wendian laughed. Chu Wei, Chu Tianjiao and the Qin clan. Among the 3 powers, one could say that Chu Wei was the weakest. Even if he allied with the Qin clan and defeated Chu Tianjiao, would the Qin clan be willing to reconcile? You are wrong, I don't have the slightest bit of confidence. These few days, I've done everything I could, but at the end of the day, my fate is still in your hands. Chu Wei calmly stated. That's why I invited you here today. Me? Qin Wenyin shook his head as he laughed. Yes, the person who decides the fate of Chu isn't Chu Tianjiao, nor is it me, nor is it the Qin clan. It's you, Qin Wenyin. Chu Wei raised his wine cup to Qin Wendian as he smiled. Let's have a toast first. Qin Wendian raised his cup and drained it in a single gulp. He didn't say anything, he only waited for Chu Wei to speak. Initially, I didn't want to participate in the struggle for power. But sometimes, I have no choice but to become the Emperor of Chu. Chu Wei calmly continued, the reason why I dare to boast so shamelessly is because I believe in you, Qin Wenyin. If I become the Emperor of Chu, I will never touch the Qin clan, nor will I touch the soldiers of the Qin clan. In fact, even if their positions remain the same, I will still bestow a piece of land to the Qin clan, allowing old Master Qin to inherit the position of the martial king. If I were to become the Emperor of Chu, as a cripple, I wouldn't need any cultivation resources, nor would I need to focus on cultivation. I would only focus on developing Chu, allowing it to grow stronger and more prosperous. The Emperor Star Academy would naturally be rebuilt. In fact, the Emperor Star Academy would even replace the position of the Royal Academy, becoming the symbol of Chu. This is what I can do for Chu. However, if the Qin clan ascends to the throne, with old Master Qin Wu as the emperor, the first thing they would do would be to cleanse the remnants of the royal clan. Soon, rivers of blood would flow in the royal capital, and the corpses of the nobles would be strewn all over the ground. At the same time, Qin Wu would continue to suppress those who disagreed with him, granting those who followed him extremely important positions in the royal capital, consolidating his own authority. Qin Wendian furrowed his brows when he heard Chu Wei's words. However, Chu Wei merely shook his head and laughed. Those who are directly involved in the situation can't see clearly. There are many things that you clearly saw, but you didn't think about them. Or perhaps, you were originally trying to avoid them. Back then, when Chu Tianjiao ordered the Yi clan to deal with the Qin clan, you clearly saw how Qin Wu did it. For the sake of the plan he had laid out for tens of years, he didn't hesitate to fall into the trap. Similarly, he also caused the Qin clan to fall into his trap. Your second uncle, Qin He, lost an arm. If it wasn't for the Emperor Star Academy's participation, as well as your eruption of power, the ending would have been even more tragic. However, all of this could have been avoided. Chu Wui's voice was as calm as ever. He stared at Qin Wenin. Old Master Qin, things aren't so simple. This was the first time Qin Wendian heard such words. He froze for a moment. In truth, how could he not have such thoughts before? But just like what Chu Wei said, those who are directly involved in the situation can't see clearly. Maybe, sometimes, he didn't want to think about it. Maybe, Grandpa Qin is doing this for the sake of avenging the death of his father, Qin Wendian speculated. Chu Wei laughed as he shook his head. My father has already died, but my family members are still alive. For the sake of avenging the death of my father, do you think that based on old Master Qin's wisdom and experience, he would be so emotional? Qin Wenyan was speechless. He could only stare at Chu Wei. Chu Wei was silent for a moment, before he continued, not long after, Chu Tianjiao will bring his men to deal with me. Let's make a bet. Your men will go out and inform old Master Qin, telling him that I'll allow him to enter the royal capital and join forces to deal with Chu Tianjiao. You will tell old Master Qin everything I've promised you, but after the matter is settled, he has to step down and let me be the emperor. I'm sure that old Master Qin would agree immediately. After I defeat Chu Tianjiao, if old Master Qin abides by the agreement and brings his men out of the royal capital, I'm willing to reintroduce him to the royal capital and abdicate the throne to him. How about it? Qin Wendian froze when he heard Chu Wui's words. After which, he replied, what if Grandpa Qin breaks the agreement, and I still stand on the side of the Qin clan? That's why I'm saying, I'll entrust my fate to you. Chu Wei laughed. After which, he turned his gaze over, staring at the horizon as he spoke in a low voice, it's about time. Chapter 216. White clouds drifted about in the skies of Chu. Although it was bright and beautiful, there was no sun, as though it was covered by layers of clouds. This kind of weather was exceptionally cool, with occasional gusts of wind blowing past, giving people a sense of refreshment. On the balcony, other than Qin Wendian and Chu Wei, there were a few more silhouettes present. They were none other than immortal drunken wine, Chu Mang, and another young man. This was the first time Qin Wendian met this young man. According to Chu Wui's introduction, this young man was from an extremely powerful clan in the royal capital, the Jiang clan. The Jiang clan was the same as the Mo clan. They had a special status in the royal capital. Their strength was extremely tyrannical, and they had never participated in the affairs of the royal capital. Before this, Chu Tianjiao had wanted to recruit them, but the Jiang clan had rejected him. But today, a descendant of the Jiang clan actually appeared at Chu Wui's banquet. Jiang Huai, if your old man knew that you were here, he would definitely hate me to death. Chu Wei smiled at the young man. Who asked them to not do anything to support you? Jiang Huai joked, but the casual tone of his voice caused Qin Wendian to feel Chu Wei's charisma. This fellow was clearly showing his support for Chu Wei, and this would undoubtedly cause his clan to fall into a passive position. At this moment, a number of silhouettes lifted up gigantic drums and placed them in 2 rows. This caused an expression of bewilderment to appear on Qin Wendian's face. These drums seemed to be extraordinary. He could feel faint astral light circulating around the surface of the drums. These should be a set of divine weapons. There were some powerful divine weapons that had more than one set. For example, swords. Sometimes, 9 swords could form a set of divine weapons, unleashing a certain kind of power. And these 36 gigantic drums in front of him seemed to be a set of divine weapons. With so many divine weapons as one, the power they could unleash would definitely be extremely terrifying. Gradually, Qin Wendian sensed a murderous intent. He looked through the wall and into the distance. In the distance of the giant pillar square, a few phalanxes strode over, making a uniform sound. The group of armored soldiers held long spears in their hands. Perhaps they did not have much of an aura when they were alone, but when more than 1,000 of them stood together, there was a strong murderous intent rolling out. This group of soldiers stood in the middle of the public square, as they inclined their heads and stared at the banquet in the pavilion. Swoosh! A uniform sound rang out as they stabbed their long spears into the ground beside them, after which, they retrieved the bows and arrows strapped to their backs and pointed them towards the sky. A sharp aura gushed forth, enveloping Chu Wei, Qin Wenyan and the rest. And at the same time, from afar, several silhouettes could be seen flying through the air. Those who could do so were all at least at the Yuanfu realm. There were more than 10 Yuanfu realm cultivators who had arrived. They stood in the pavilion above the group of soldiers, and their gazes similarly turned to Chu Wei and the rest. One of them coldly spoke. Chu Wei, as the son of the previous emperor, you actually have the heart to rebel? Follow us to meet His Majesty. Just this many people? My third brother is looking down on me a little too much. Chu Wei smiled at the newcomer as he continued to sit there calmly. Unknowingly, in front of the 36 drums, a silhouette could be seen. They were all clad in white and had ordinary looks. However, they all exuded the same aura, calm, and ordinary. If one didn't pay attention, they wouldn't even be able to sense their presence. Thunder Dragon Drum. The person in the lead suddenly thought of something when he saw the 36 gigantic drums. His countenance sank. This was the legendary, third-ranked divine weapon. If these 36 Yuanfu realm cultivators were to wield it, they would be able to unleash a might that could kill anyone below the 6th level of Yuanfu. His countenance was unsightly to behold as he glanced at Chu Wei. Chu Wei was exceedingly quiet and was currently drinking his wine, as though he didn't care about what was happening in the outside world. Chu Wei, take a look at your surroundings. This time around, it's better for you to surrender. His Majesty, on account of our brotherhood, might let you have a good ending. That person continued persuading. Although Qin Wenyan didn't stand up, he could hear the sounds of many footsteps. Chu Wei's private residence outside the royal palace had already been surrounded. As long as I give the command, they will attack. Why is there a need to cause unnecessary casualties? Chu Wei ignored the other party. He stared at Qin Wenyan and laughed. That third brother of mine will appear very soon. Let's take a look together. After speaking, Chu Wei stood up and walked towards the walls of the royal palace. He stared at Qin Wenyan as he casually stated, Uncle Heng, don't follow my third brother and bring chaos to Chu. Chu Heng stared at Chu Wei's eyes. He couldn't help but to sigh in his heart. Raising his hands, he waved them downwards. Kill. A heaven-shaking killing intent permeated the air. After which, terrifying rumbling sounds rang out unceasingly as the soldiers of the royal palace launched their attack. The sound of the walls being smashed apart could be heard, and at the same time, in front of Chu Wei and the others, arrows pierced through the air, blotting out the skies and covering the earth, as though wanting to engulf the heavens and earth. Boom! The sound of a drum reverberated as the skies trembled. It was as though a bolt of lightning had streaked across the skies. Boom, boom! The sounds of the drum being beaten rang out in unison. Instantly, a gigantic screen of lightning appeared in front of Qin Wenyan. Thousands of arrows slammed into the screen of lightning, but they were instantly entangled by the dancing lightning. After which, the sounds of cracking rang out unceasingly as the arrows were all destroyed. Below the pavilion, the door opened as a group of silhouettes walked out. These people were all clad in black and were akin to phantoms as they sprinted forward with all sorts of divine weapons in their hands, lunging towards the group of people who shot the arrows. Emichim? Chu Heng's countenance changed. After which, he wanted to descend to the pavilion, only to feel a terrifying pressure enveloping them. After which, in front of them, the lightning dragon danced, accompanied by the sounds of the war drums. The terrifying rays of lightning interweaved together to form a fearsome divine dragon, incomparably tyrannical. Rumble! A terrifying sound thundered out as the divine dragon of lightning dashed forward, shimmering with a resplendent violet light. The countenances of Chu Heng and the others drastically changed. The thunder dragon drum was indeed as fearsome as the rumors said. Swish, swish! A terrifying whistling sound rang out from afar as 9 bolts of golden lightning shot out from the void, instantly colliding with the lightning dragon. After which, the lightning dragon exploded in the void. The dazzling light was so dazzling that people couldn't open their eyes. From afar, a majestic army of experts could be seen rushing over, their tyrannical formation causing the hearts of those who saw it to tremble. The person in the lead was clad in a golden dragon robe. This person was none other than the current emperor of Chu Tianjiao. Behind Chu Tianjiao and the rest, countless silhouettes could be seen galloping over. Most probably, other than the troops stationed in the royal capital to defend against the Qin clan, the rest of the Chu country's troops were all mobilized here. Because Chu Tianjiao knew that Chu Wei was together with Qin Wenyan. In that case, this battle would be the end of everything. Beside Chu Tianjiao, a silhouette wielded a resplendent golden bow, emitting a resplendent golden light. This was also an extremely powerful divine weapon. Elder brother, it's fine if you don't want to help me, but why must you do this? Chu Tianjiao stared at Chu Wei as he calmly spoke. Initially, I didn't want to interfere in the struggle for the throne, but your path is getting more and more deviated. If you continue down this path, the royal clan of Chu would surely be annihilated, Chu Wei replied. Is that so? Could it be that the reason you started a civil war in the Chu clan was because of the royal clan? Ridiculous to the extreme, your so-called righteousness is the reason why Chu is in such a precarious situation. Hence, I, your younger brother, can only be merciless. Chu Wei coldly stated, as killing intent flashed in his eyes. However, at this moment, several mysterious youths appeared beside Chu Wei. They were extremely quiet, as though they were always by Chu Wei's side. These are the pitiful people you have been nurturing all this while. Now they have all become your death-sworn warriors. Do you feel ashamed that you want them to give up their lives for you? Chu Wei mocked. After which, he coldly commanded, "Kill!" The experts advanced forward. At this moment, Chu Wei was still as calm as ever. He stared at the faces in front of him as he stated, "It's not too late for you to give up now. I, Chu Wei, can guarantee on my honor that I won't settle this debt with you later. If you still insist on going about things the wrong way, I'm afraid that even I won't be able to protect you." Evidently, there was a trace of hesitation in those people's hearts. But now, it was already too late to back down. From afar, the sound of galloping hooves rang out. On the left and right of the public square, troops of knights appeared. Their long spears were all pointed towards Chu Tianjiao's troops. Evidently, in this battle between the two brothers, they had their own supporters. People from the Jiang clan. At this moment, someone exclaimed in shock. From afar, the experts of the Jiang clan could be seen rushing over. The person in the lead glanced at Jiang Huai. This bastard, how dare he drag the Jiang clan into this storm? The people from the Mu clan are also standing on Chu Wei's side. Someone saw the experts from the Mu clan appearing. Because of the incident with Mu Rou back then, Chu Tianjiao had always been at odds with the Mu clan. And because of the promise made by Gung Hong as well as the relationship between Qin Wendian and Mu Rou, the people from the Mu clan decided to step out to express their stance. Many black-robed silhouettes stealthily appeared on the left and right of the wall. They were naturally those who came to assist Qin Wenyan. More and more enemies appeared, causing Chu Wei's countenance to turn increasingly unsightly. He coldly stated, "Good, very good. From today onwards, the Chu country shall be leveled." Kill. Chu Tianjiao roared in rage as an emperor's will gushed forth. Frenzied roars shook the heavens and earth as the experts from both sides clashed. A cold wind howled. The killing intent in the air caused the wind to be filled with a terrifying chill. Chu Tianjiao stood in the air, his gaze sweeping towards Qin Wendian and Chu Wei. He initially thought that Chu Wei would be able to obtain even more strength to fight against him today. But it seemed like he had overestimated his elder brother. How could Chu Wei be able to withstand his suppression with just this amount of strength? This time around, Qin Wenyan had even brought along the elite troops of the martial palace. His goal was to use the most tyrannical strength to suppress Chu Wei. It could be said that apart from those who were guarding the royal capital, Qin Wenyan had gathered all of his forces here. He would first kill Chu Wei, then deal with those from the Qin clan. Chapter 217. The battle erupted in an instant. Blood rained down from the skies as the sounds of battle drums thundered. Boundless amounts of lightning descended from the skies, following the directions of those drummers, killing their way towards the Yuanfu cultivators below. In the distance, the cultivators beside Chu Tianjiao once again raised their golden arrows. An indomitable sharpness erupted forth as a golden beam of light arced through the air, shooting towards Chu Wuwei. The Thunder Dragon drum vibrated simultaneously as the Thunder Dragon roared in rage, rushing towards the incoming arrows. Evidently, the Thunder Dragon drum was a level higher than the Thunder Dragon drum. Boom! Chu Mang's silhouette flickered as he stood atop the city walls. Astral light illuminated his eyes as he released his astral souls. First, a bow and arrow appeared, followed by a gigantic axe. These were his second and third astral souls. A gigantic astral bow appeared in Chu Mang's hands. Knocking the arrows, the 9 arrows shot towards the incoming group of silhouettes. Instantly, the movements of the 9 silhouettes stiffened, as though they had been locked onto. Their gazes were filled with trepidation as they stared at Chu Mang. Chu Mang was the first of the 10 prodigies. His talent was many times more outstanding than Chu Tianjiao's, and his combat prowess was incomparable. Whoever dares to step forward, die. Chu Mang roared as the arrows pierced through the air. Chi-chi. 9 sounds rang out simultaneously. The 9 Yuanfu cultivators trembled as their foreheads were penetrated by the arrows. Expressions of disbelief could be seen in their eyes. How could his arrows be so fast? This is the power of a mandate. Qin Wendian stared at Chu Mang. Chu Mang's aura should be at the 5th level of Yuanfu. Not only that, there was a faint trace of the power of a mandate within his arrows. Qin Wendian's senses weren't wrong. Under Chu Wuwei's tutelage, Chu Mang had been madly shooting arrows day after day, year after year, even after he stepped into Yuanfu. Chu Wuwei wanted him to shoot arrows, to allow him to feel it. Until one day, he suddenly had a feeling that he could make his arrows hit their targets in the shortest amount of time possible. At that time, he had already comprehended the first level of insight of the mandate of arrows, instant strike. A single arrow piercing through 9 Yuanfu cultivators. The impact of such a scene was too great. Although the strength of the 9 Yuanfu cultivators wasn't considered too strong, Yuanfu realm cultivators were still the backbone of this war. Chu Mang's movements didn't slow down in the slightest. His body abruptly turned as he aimed his arrows at the experts rushing up the platform. Roar! With a howl of rage, Chu Mang became incomparably berserk, akin to a giant as he shot out another 9 arrows. 9 beams of light flashed as the sounds of piercing rang out unceasingly. More and more Yuanfu cultivators fell, killed in a single strike. Chu Mang's bow was like an arrow that could reap away lives. The Thunder Dragon drum defended while Chu Mang attacked. Although there weren't too many experts here, it wouldn't be so easy for Chu Tianjiao's men to break into the rooftop. With 36 Yuanfu cultivators working together to control the Thunder Dragon drum, even if a cultivator at the upper 3rd level of Yuanfu were to get close to them, they would still feel immense danger. The people from the Qin clan should be arriving soon, Chu Wei spoke in a low voice. Qin went inside in his heart as he stared at the pool of blood on the ground. Ouyang's men didn't appear because Qin Wendian knew that the 9 mystical palace had yet to appear. Ouyang and his men needed to intimidate the 9 mystical palace. As for Qin Wendian could only smile bitterly when he thought of her. He couldn't even see Qin. Maybe he could purposely expose himself to danger to lure Qin out, but if he did this every single time, Qin would definitely be unhappy. After all, Qin didn't owe him anything. She was protecting him in the dark, and he should be grateful to her. He couldn't use his life to threaten Qin every single time. Even the white clouds in the sky were dyed a crimson red. The experts on the rooftop were still guarding the various locations, and Chu Mang unceasingly shot out arrows to kill those in his range of attack. However, the other experts had no way to defend against the invasion of the cavalry. Those who supported Chu Wei were being hunted down, and even those from the Jiang clan and the Mu clan were in danger. However, they were also gradually moving closer to the rooftop where Chu Wei was located. This way, the Thunder Dragon Drum attacks would be able to protect them. Chu Wei also didn't order his strongest experts to launch an all-out attack. Although he had the confidence to destroy the Thunder Dragon Drum's attack, if he were to do so, it would undoubtedly cause him to expend a large number of experts. He wanted to see how long Chu Wei would be able to evade his attacks. The sounds of shouting gradually died down, yet the earth started to tremble. Chu Tianjiao's gaze shifted over, only to see a group of experts whistling through the air. On the ground, there were also armored mounts galloping through the air, as they advanced with the speed of a tornado. Shockingly, the Qin clan had arrived. Chu Tianjiao coldly glanced at Chu Wei before waving his hands. Momentarily, his men retreated in a frenzy towards the left of the giant pillar plaza, in order to avoid being caught in a pincer attack by Chu Wei and the Qin clan. A terrifying hurricane whistled through the air. The Qin clan stood on the right of the giant pillar plaza, facing Chu Tianjiao's troops as a tyrannical might engulfed the heavens and earth. Wendian. A voice called out. Qin Wendian turned his gaze onto the two generals of the Qin clan. Qin Wu and Qin Chuan were there, but their personal strength wasn't that strong. Hence, they were heavily guarded, and other than the guards, there were also experts from the Emperor Star Academy as well as Old Gu. The Nine Mystical Palace had imprisoned Dai and brought him away. The royal clan had sent people to hunt down the members of the Emperor's Star Academy. How could they not seek revenge? There were already many experts from the Emperor's Star Academy within the Qin clan's troops. This was also the reason why Chu Wei had so much confidence in Qin Wenyin. Qin Wenyin was the key character that could decide the outcome of this battle. Grandpa Qin, father. Qin Wenyin smiled. This day had finally arrived. Ever since the Yi clan brought their troops into the Sky Harmony City, it had been less than 2 years. It was time for everything to come to an end. It's good that you're here. Let us bury all of you here today. Chu Tianjiao coldly swept his gaze over the crowd. From afar, a powerful army was madly sprinting over, as though they were being pursued. Upon seeing this scene, Chu Tianjiao's gaze froze. When the army neared him, Chu Tianjiao coldly asked, "What's going on?" The army in front of him was in a sorry state, like a field of loose sand. Was this still the army that had been trained for so many years? We were ambushed. Icehawk is a traitor, a spy. As the vice commander, he led us into a trap. The general in the lead coldly spoke, his killing intent surging. From afar, another army could be seen approaching. This army was clad in full armor, exuding an aura of killing intent. They slowly approached, surrounding Chu Tianjiao and the others. The person in the lead, Qin Wentian's gaze froze the instant he saw him. Back then, he and Fan Lu had almost been killed when they were trapped in the treacherous castle in the dark forest. Someone had recognized him, and this army was none other than that person. The person in the lead slowly took off his helmet, revealing a familiar face. Icehawk, it's him. Qin Wenyin recalled the scene of Icehawk leading his troops into the Sky Harmony City. Who would have thought that the person who dealt with the Qin clan back then was actually a spy? According to his father, Icehawk was the vice commander of Grandpa Qin. After that, he betrayed the Qin clan and gained the trust of the royal clan and the Yi clan. After that, he led his troops and slaughtered many of the members of the Qin clan. But now, at the most crucial moment, he had dealt a fatal blow to the royal clan. Ginger is spicier with age, Chu Wei murmured as he cast a deep glance at Qin Wenyin. In that case, Chu Tianjiao's troops had completely lost their advantage. If he wanted to reverse the situation, he could only rely on his most elite troops to salvage the situation. This also indicated that the final battle was about to begin. Chu Tianjiao suddenly laughed. He stared at Chu Wei as he icily stated, "Big brother, you forced me to do this. Since things have already reached this point, the only way is to exterminate all of you. Only then will I be able to suppress the situation today." As the sound of his voice faded, a sinister gust of wind swept across the heavens and earth. Behind Chu Tianjiao, 4 silhouettes abruptly stepped out. Cracking sounds rang out as the robes of 4 old men were torn apart, revealing their blood-colored robes. Their entire bodies exuded a terrifying blood-colored aura, and the cold eyes of eagles were incomparably sharp. A towering pressure of blood gushed forth from them as a towering pressure of blood gushed forth. The young maidens of the royal capital died in their hands, right? They should have died long ago, yet you kept them alive, using the blood of young maidens to nourish them. Not only that, you even brought them out today. Third brother, you truly deserve death. Chu Wuwei stared at the 4 old men who had just appeared. He could faintly recognize these 4. They should have died long ago, yet they were still alive. I don't have this kind of ability. This was left behind by our ancestor for our royal clan. If it wasn't for you, how could I have reached this step? Chu Tianjiao indifferently stated. Winner takes all. Today, Chu Wei Qin Wenin, all of you shall die here. As the sound of his voice faded, the 4 old men howled in rage as they rushed towards Icehawk and the others. Terrifying sounds of blood gushing forth from their bodies as the number of casualties instantly increased. Such a brutal scene caused the hearts of the spectators to tremble as their countenances turned pale. What a cruel method! All of them were created by the mandate of blood. Damn it all! Old Gu and Ren Qianqing's countenances were extremely unsightly to behold. The strength of these 4 old men was terrifying. At the same time, from afar, another group of people soared through the air. Upon seeing the person in the lead, those from the Emperor's Star Academy involuntarily froze. 9 Mystical Palace, Luo Qianqiu. Qin Wentian. Luo Qianqiu's gaze landed on Qin Wenin. Faint arcs of lightning crackled around his body as his killing intent intensified. The humiliation of the Jun Lin banquet would finally be washed away today. I know there's a capable person behind you. Hence, my 9 Mystical Palace also sent a heavenly dipper sovereign. Today, no one will be able to save you. Luo Qianqiu calmly stated, his words causing the hearts of the spectators to sink. Not only did the 9 Mystical Palace participate, they even brought a heavenly dipper sovereign with them. If Luo Qianqiu wanted to kill Qin Wentian, no one would be able to stop him. And by doing so, he would undoubtedly be helping Chu Tianjiao. Chu Tianjiao also stared at Qin Wentian. This person who had almost controlled the outcome of the battle, a cold smile could be seen flickering in his eyes as he icily stated, today, no one will be able to escape. Qin Wentian, today shall be the day of your death. Chapter 218. The gazes of the entire royal capital were all focused on the upcoming battle, with the exception of the Mo clan. The Mo clan's attention was focused on Mo Qingqing and those from the Pill Emperor Hall. It was said that the daughter of the Pill Emperor, Luo He, was extremely fond of Mo Qingqing, and was urging Bai Fei and the rest to bring Mo Qingqing over to the Pill Emperor Hall as soon as possible. Hua Xiaoyun's heart was filled with many thoughts. Yesterday, his elder brother had conveyed a message to him, telling him to form a good relationship with Mo Qingqing. Luo He valued Mo Qingqing very much, and the meaning of his elder brother was that if Mo Qingqing performed outstandingly in the Pill Emperor Hall, Luo He might even introduce her to the Pill Emperor for guidance. Once that happened, Mo Qingqing would become an extremely influential character in the Pill Emperor Hall, and would even have a certain status in the entire Grand Xia Empire. Although Hua Xiaoyun could strut around in the Mo residence right now, when that time came with his talent, it was unknown how far he would be left behind. He wasn't a genius like his elder brother, who was as talented as Hua Xiaoyun. Hence, when Hua Xiaoyun was chatting with old man Mo, he revealed that he was in love with Mo Qingqing. Leaving aside Hua Xiaoyun's talent, just based on his status, old man Mo wouldn't object to him introducing Mo Qingqing to a sect. However, it wasn't appropriate for him to force Mo Qingqing, so he could only create more opportunities for Hua Xiaoyun to interact with Mo Qingqing. This caused Mo Qingqing to be extremely annoyed by Hua Xiaoyun, but she could only feign civility with him. Her attention was still on the situation in the royal capital. How was that idiot doing? She couldn't allow anything to happen to him. Miss, the battle has reached a critical juncture. Those from the 9 Mystical Palace have appeared, including Luo Qianqiu. They want to kill Qin Wentian. At this moment, someone reported to Mo Qingqing who was seated in the pavilion. Mo Qingqing abruptly stood up, her heart pounding as she clenched her fists tightly. Upon seeing this scene, Hua Xiaoyun's eyes flashed with an indiscernible coldness. Whenever Mo Qingqing heard of Qin Wentian's name, she would either feel agitated or nervous, yet she treated him like thin air. That country bumpkin from Chu was so important to Mo Qingqing, while he, Hua Xiaoyun, was being ignored everywhere. This feeling was extremely uncomfortable. Junior sister, it's impossible for you and him to be together. Just forget about him. Bai Fei indifferently stated. Mo Qingqing frowned, but didn't say anything. Qingqing, your future is extraordinary. Don't wallow in depravity. That Qin Wentian doesn't have the qualifications to like you, Hua Xiaoyun added. What does it have to do with you? Mo Qingqing coldly glanced at Hua Xiaoyun. She was already in a bad mood, yet these people were still trying to provoke her. How could she not be enraged? At this moment, Mo Qingqing's countenance had reverted back to the cold, unapproachable aura she exuded. Only when she was by Qin Wentian's side would she reveal the mischievous and adorable side of her. Mo Qingqing's icy voice caused Hua Xiaoyun's countenance to stiffen, as a terrifying glint of coldness flickered in the depths of his eyes. Hee. Hua Xiaoyun laughed, yet he gave off a sinister feeling. Mo Qingqing from the Mo clan actually dared to treat him in such a manner? If it wasn't for him, would the Mo clan be where they are today? Mo Qingqing could enter the tutelage of Luo He? I gave you face but you don't want it. I will make sure you have a good time. Hua Xiaoyun stared at Mo Qingqing's countenance as he thought in his heart. He wanted to see how long this countenance of hers could last. Hua Xiaoyun flicked his sleeves and departed, while Jing Yu and Yan Qi laughed. The temper of this spoiled brat had been triggered. Naturally, they could see Hua Xiaoyun's feelings for Mo Qingqing, and seeing the two of them breaking off their relationship, they were extremely happy. Mo Qingqing naturally didn't pay much attention to Hua Xiaoyun's attitude. She didn't know that she had already offended someone. In her heart, there was only Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian gazed at Chu Tianjiao and Luo Qianqiu. Both of them wanted him dead so badly. The Nine Mystical Palace had always been standing behind the royal clan of Chu, controlling the royal clan's actions against the Emperor's Star Academy. Even after the academy had been disbanded, the Nine Mystical Palace still didn't spare Dai. Qin Wentian couldn't help but feel pain in his heart when he thought about how Dai was chained up by the Nine Mystical Palace. That old man's final mission was to pave the way for him, Qin Wentian. Even his own life and death were nothing to him. The Nine Mystical Palace had to be destroyed. This wasn't the first time Luo Qianqiu had wanted to kill him. Back then, Qin Wentian was weak and didn't dare to kill those from the Nine Mystical Palace. He had even been humiliated by Luo Tianya. But Luo Qianqiu deserved to die. Chu Tianjiao had personally ordered his men to abduct the young maidens of the royal capital and use them to feed those four experts, treating the lives of others like grass. If such a person were to ascend to the throne, the people of the royal capital would be plunged into an abyss of misery. Chu Tianjiao deserved to die. Nine Mystical Palace, how awe-inspiring. From afar, a wild voice rang out as two rows of silhouettes soared through the air. The countenances of the experts from the Nine Mystical Palace gradually changed as they stared at the newcomers. Ouyang Quangxing had brought along several experts from the Ouyang clan and Jiang clan, and the silhouettes that appeared caused Qin Wentian to be extremely bewildered. They were actually from the Green Cloud Pavilion. Qian Mingyu? Luo Qianqiu's countenance grew unsightly as he stared at those from the Green Cloud Pavilion. Even the Green Cloud Pavilion is here to join in the fun? Luo Qianqiu, in the past you were defeated by Qin Wentian, and today you brought people from the Nine Mystical Palace here to oppress us? Do you have any face? Qian Mingyu coldly snorted. Do we really need people from the Nine Mystical Palace to kill him? It's just that he's hiding in there. Naturally, I'll bring my men to force him out to die. Luo Qianqiu's voice was ice-cold as he pointed in the direction of Qin Wentian. Well said. Ouyang Quangxing crossed his arms in front of his chest as he laughed. Since the Nine Mystical Palace wants to play today, let's play then. However, I'll say this first. After today's matter is concluded, the Nine Mystical Palace will no longer interfere in the affairs of Chu. Since you guys are here, if you can win, that's your win. If you lose, you will die here. What an arrogant tone. For you. An expert behind Luo Qianqiu released a tyrannical aura as he stared at Ouyang Guangxing. Don't look at me like that. Although you are an old man at the Heavenly Dipper realm, with me standing in front of you, you wouldn't dare to touch me. Ouyang Guangxing glared at the expert as he continued, I'm from the Ouyang clan in the Azure continent. Ouyang Guangxing, if your 9 mystical palace wants to play, my Ouyang clan will play with you. The countenance of the Heavenly Dipper sovereign turned unsightly. How could it be someone from the Ouyang clan? Why did the Ouyang aristocrat clan appear in Chu? This is also the opinion of my Green Cloud Pavilion. Since the 9 mystical palace wants to end things today, let's end it here. If you die, so be it. If the 9 mystical palace still wants to play with you in the future, my Green Cloud Pavilion will play with you as well. Qian Mingyu's attitude caused Qin Wenyan to be bewildered, while those from the 9 mystical palace turned ashen. Never would they have expected that the Ouyang clan and Green Cloud Pavilion would declare their stance at this moment. Chu Tianjiao furrowed his brows. He too had a bad premonition. Ouyang Guangxing's tone was so arrogant that it was shocking to the extreme. This made him feel that the Ouyang clan was a power that even the 9 mystical palace couldn't afford to antagonize. Qianqiu, things are going to be a little tricky. If we continue like this, we don't have an absolute chance of victory. A Heavenly Dipper sovereign from the 9 mystical palace whispered to Luo Qianqiu. Luo Qianqiu fell silent for a moment before drawing in a deep breath. Since he had come to Chu today, how could he leave with his tail between his legs? If he didn't kill Qin Wendian now, where would he find him in the future? I'll accompany you. Old Yen, go break that divine weapon drum. Luo Qianqiu faintly stated. Old Yen, who was beside him, hesitated for a moment before nodding his head. Right now, Luo Qianqiu's status in the 9 mystical palace was different. Since he wanted to battle, he would accompany him. As long as he didn't offend the young master of the Ouyang clan, everything would be fine. Old Yen stepped out as a thunderous boom echoed out. An incomparably gigantic leg appeared in the air, descending from the heavens as it slammed into the screen of lightning. The thunder dragon roared as it collided with the gigantic leg. Crackling sounds rang out as the gigantic leg contained a terrifying strength, directly crushing the lightning dragon. After that, the leg continued to press downwards, causing the white-robed figure who was beating the drum to cough up blood unceasingly, his countenance pale. The gigantic leg pressed down on Qin Wenyan and the rest, but at this moment, a graceful silhouette abruptly appeared. She was always so mysterious. Lifting her jade-like hands, Qin's body was bathed in the radiance of the astral light. With a wave of her palms, a pure lotus flower containing a terrifying amount of strangulation energy shot towards the gigantic leg. The lotus flower grew larger and larger, enveloping the gigantic leg. The terrifying strangulation energy caused the gigantic leg to explosively retreat. 2 silhouettes simultaneously rushed out. Old Yen and Qing soared up into the air. 2 Heavenly Dipper sovereigns, the battle had begun. Is this the true strength of Qing? Qin Wendian stared at that fairy-like silhouette. At this moment, she was still as beautiful as ever, soaring up into the air to fight against Old Yen. What a beautiful woman! Qin Wendian, tsk. Ouyang Guangxing couldn't help but feel jealous of Qin Wenyan. Didn't Qin resemble the peerless beauty from the Celestial Lake Palace? Ouyang, help me finish off those 4 old men. Qin Wenyan pointed to the 4 withered old men in the distance. These 4 were all homicidal maniacs. Go and kill them. Ouyang Guangxing commanded. Behind him, several experts dashed out. At the same time, a few vice headmasters from the Emperor Star Academy also rushed over, preparing to surround and kill the 4 old men. Chu Tianjiao waved his hands, and several experts rushed towards the platform where Qin Wenyan was located. The battle in this space had completely erupted. Waves of destruction engulfed the heavens and earth, and even those spectating from afar could clearly feel how terrifying the atmosphere here was. Tragic, the battle in front of them could only be described as tragic. When the experts from the 9 mystical palace clashed against those from the Ouyang clan and Green Cloud Pavilion, those from the Qin clan slaughtered their way towards Chu Tianjiao. At this moment, on Qin Wentian's side, only Chu Wei and Qin Wenyan were still standing on the balcony, watching everything unfold. Luo Qianqiu and Chu Tianjiao didn't act either. Luo Qianqiu stared at Qin Wenyan as he coldly stated, "I really don't understand, why are there so many people willing to stand in front of you? Why are you the only one standing there like a coward?" Luo Qianqiu was obviously intentionally provoking Qin Wenyan. This caused the gazes of many in the crowd to shift in the direction of Qin Wenyan. Luo Qianqiu must have come prepared. This genius of the past had left an extremely deep impression on the people of Chu. Qin Wenyan stared at Luo Qianqiu as he laughed, causing Luo Qianqiu to furrow his brows. During the Jun Lin banquet, if it wasn't for the 9 mystical palace standing in front of you, you would already be a dead man. What's laughable is that you are actually mocking me now. Qin Wenyan calmly stated, after which, his silhouette slowly rose up into the air, causing the countenances of many in the crowd to tighten. Qin Wenyan was too important. Many people didn't wish for anything to happen to him, and would rather he just stand there and watch. Qin Wenyan also understood that many people wished for him to stand there unmoving. However, with so many people supporting him, no matter what, he had to tell them that he, Qin Wenyan, was worthy of their efforts. He, Qin Wenyan, would never disappoint them. The gazes of anticipation in the eyes of the crowd would eventually see the results. Hence, he walked out and stood in the center of the crowd. His gaze was fixed on Luo Qianqiu, his countenance as calm as ever. When had he ever feared a battle? The Jun Lin banquet was so difficult, but he still managed to walk through it, obtaining the position of number 1. Today, he wanted to tell those who supported him that he, Qin Wenyan, was worthy of their efforts. Within 10 breaths of time, you will die. Qin Wenyan stared at Luo Qianqiu as he spat out a sentence filled with arrogance, causing the hearts of the crowd to tremble. 10 breaths, within 10 breaths of time, he wanted the genius of the 9 mystical palace, Luo Qianqiu, to die. Chapter 219. Upon hearing Qin Wentian's words, Luo Qianqiu froze for a moment before he started laughing maniacally. Stepping out, lightning crackled around his body as he released his astral soul. Terrifying bolts of lightning enveloped his body, and the violet lightning contained traces of an energy that would cause one's heart to palpitate. The power of lightning was tyrannical, and the third astral soul Luo Qianqiu condensed after breaking through to Yuanfu was also a lightning-type astral soul. This must be the funniest joke I've ever heard. Luo Qianqiu's body was bathed in lightning as the lightning energy danced in his palms. The aura he exuded was at the 2nd level of Yuanfu. 1 breath. Qin Wentian indifferently spat out. Even before he made his move, he had already started the countdown. At the same time, the astral energy in his body began to surge. His long robes fluttered in the wind, and his long hair turned the color of ink. His eyes grew increasingly demonic, and his entire being exuded a demonic aura. His blood began to boil. Within his body, the Yuanfu corresponding to his heavenly hammer astral soul, as well as the Yuanfu corresponding to his demon sovereign astral soul, began to seethe. Within these 2 Yuanfu, there was a terrifying amount of divine energy, not ordinary astral energy. Qin Wenyan, who had 3 Yuanfu, could endure the exhaustion of astral energy compared to others. Upon hearing Qin Wentian's countdown, Luo Qianqiu drew in a deep breath. It was as though the shadow of a lightning saint could be seen on his body, causing him to appear even more imposing. You really don't know the difference between life and death. Let me show you the power of my mandate. Luo Qianqiu indifferently spat out. Abruptly, Qin Wenyan felt a terrifying surge of energy boring down on him, unceasingly blasting into his body, even penetrating into his sea of consciousness. This was similar to the attack Xiao Lan had unleashed back then. That mysterious surge of mandate was like a bolt of lightning. Luo Qianqiu stood there motionlessly, but Qin Wenyan felt his entire body being enveloped by lightning. How do you feel now? Luo Qianqiu's eyes were filled with arrogance as he stared at Qin Wenyan. 3 breaths. The reply he received was an ice-cold voice. Qin Wenyan continued with his countdown, causing Luo Qianqiu's countenance to turn extremely ugly. Could it be that he didn't know what the power of willpower was? Even if he didn't know, he should be able to sense the strength of the martial will. Many people inclined their heads to stare at the battle between Qin Wenyin and Luo Qianqiu. Seeing that Qin Wenyin was still in the midst of accumulating his strength, they couldn't help but sigh in admiration. This fellow was still as arrogant as ever. The seemingly quiet young man would reveal his arrogant attitude the moment he started fighting. Perhaps an innate arrogance flowed in his bones and blood. Even he himself did not know it. At this moment, the faint aura of a monarch that was being emitted from his body perfectly illustrated this point. 4 breaths. Qin Wendian indifferently stated. The smile on Luo Qianqiu's face froze as he stared at Qin Wenyin. Qin Wendian's attitude was like a slap to his face. What did he take him, Luo Qianqiu, to be? Chu Wei calmly stood there, as though no matter what happened, he would always be as calm as ever. This time around, he didn't have much confidence in his ability to seize the throne of Chu. In fact, the strength he could control was limited. His confidence originated from Qin Wenyin. If he had his eyes on someone, he would never doubt them. Not only that, he had always believed that the victor today would ultimately be Qin Wenyin. And Qin Wenyan's victory was equivalent to his, Chu Wei's, victory. Chu Mang, go and protect Qin Wenyin. I'm worried about your third brother, Chu Wei commanded. Right. Chu Mang stepped out, standing not far away from Qin Wenyin. His eyes were fixed on Chu Tianjiao. He would do whatever his elder brother wanted him to do. 5 breaths. Another voice rang out from Qin Wenyan's mouth. Luo Qianqiu's handsome countenance turned malevolent. Qin Wenyin was insulting him. Drawing in a deep breath, Luo Qianqiu forced himself to calm down. Anger was the greatest taboo in battle. He knew this very well. It was only because Qin Wenyin was a knot in his heart that he couldn't suppress his anger. Boundless amounts of violet lightning converged to form a gigantic lightning sword. Behind Luo Qianqiu, the lightning shadow also wielded a sword of lightning, exuding a terrifying might that caused the hearts of the onlookers to tremble. Boom! Luo Qianqiu stepped out, his mandate of thunder and lightning gushed towards Qin Wenyin, simultaneously merging into the 2 lightning swords. 10 breaths? What a joke! He wanted everyone to see Qin Wenyin dodging his attack in 10 breaths of time. When Qin Wenyin uttered the words 6 breaths, Luo Qianqiu unleashed his attack. A resplendent lightning sword slashed out, its power akin to thunder, incomparably tyrannical. Thunderbolt slash. Luo Qianqiu roared in rage as the twin lightning swords descended from the skies, slashing towards Qin Wenyan's head. The might of this strike was extremely terrifying, as it contained the power of the mandate of thunder and lightning. The first level of the mandate of thunder and lightning was known as Thunderbolt Explosive Strike. Regardless of attack speed or strength, all of them would be enhanced. Qin Wenyin raised his head slightly as the terrifying lightning bolts pierced through his body. He could naturally feel how powerful this strike was, but today's battle would mark the end of the Chu country's matter. He would use his most domineering stance to suppress and kill Luo Qianqiu. His devilishly handsome countenance was filled with incomparable arrogance. Qin Wenyin slowly stepped out, moving towards Luo Qianqiu, welcoming the terrifying sword slashing down. The spectators only saw Qin Wenyin raising his left hand, grabbing towards the air. This scene caused the hearts of countless people to tremble, as expressions of terror appeared on their faces. Wenyin. Qin Chuan's heart almost stopped beating when he saw this. Many in the crowd thought that Qin Wenyin had gone mad. He was only at the first level of Yuanfu, yet he actually used his bare hands to grab a sword? It was as though they could already see the scene of Qin Wenyin being split apart by the thunderbolt slash. Those from the 9 mystical palace also had expressions of mockery on their faces. How laughable! Earlier, they were still filled with trepidation towards Qin Wenyin. After all, the aura exuding from Qin Wenyin didn't lose out to Luo Qianqiu, who was at the 2nd level of Yuanfu. But now, there was only disdain in their eyes. This person actually didn't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. The thunderbolt slash combined with Luo Qianqiu's astral souls, as well as the explosive power of thunder, Even a cultivator at the third level of Yuanfu would be slain. This arrogant fellow who didn't know the immensity of the heavens and earth actually used his bare hands to grab the sword. Terrifying blood-colored runes circulated around Qin Wentian's palms, as well as a terrifying demonic intent. His palms contained the divine energy from the demon sovereign Yuanfu, the mountain-like divine energy, imbued with a terrifying demonic qi. At this moment, Qin Wentian's palms were akin to a demonic mountain, filled with terrifying might. Qi! The thunderbolt sword slashed downwards, a malevolent glint flashed in Luo Qianqiu's eyes as a crisp sound rang out. The second thunderbolt sword slashed downwards, yet it didn't even budge an inch. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, Qin Wentian's palms grasped upwards, directly grabbing hold of the two thunderbolt swords. The hearts of many in the crowd almost stopped beating. No one could describe the impact of that casual grab. Was that really the palm of a human? Even the palms of demons couldn't be this terrifying, right? He really grabbed hold of the sword. The hearts of the crowd pounded madly as they stared at Qin Wenyin. His long hair fluttered in the wind, yet his palms were like divine weapons, unmoving. What a freak! Ouyang Guangxing completely lost his temper upon witnessing such an exaggerated scene. Damn it, did he still want to live? No matter what, his astral souls were all from the fourth heavenly layer, and he was also at the first level of Yuanfu. But when he saw Luo Qianqiu's attack, he couldn't help but feel his hair standing on end. Qin Wenyin actually used his bare hands to grab hold of the sword? What made him even more speechless was that he even grabbed hold of the sword. This was simply too much of a blow to his genius. He felt that as long as Qin Wenyin was careful not to be assassinated by others in the future, he would definitely become a character that could summon the wind and summon the rain in the future. Nobody knew how profound Qin Wenyan's single grab was. The astral energy absorbed by the demon's sovereign astral soul was already extremely violent, condensed into the mountain-type divine energy. In addition to the power of his bloodline, the fiend transformation art, as well as the first level of his mandate of force, strength, all of these factors gave him the courage to directly grab hold of that terrifying strike. Although it seemed like a simple grab, there were too many powerful elements contained within, causing the spectators to feel a terrifying impact. Especially Luo Qianqiu, he didn't dare to believe that this was real. How could this be possible? Qin Wenyan's silhouette was like a phantom as he dashed forward, his right hand aiming straight for Luo Qianqiu. Luo Qianqiu, who was still in a state of shock, was caught off guard. He hurriedly tried to defend against Qin Wenyan's attack, but how could he block it? Qin Wenyan's mandate of force directly slammed into his body. How could Qin Wenyan's right palm be weak? It directly broke through Luo Qianqiu's defense, landing on Luo Qianqiu's throat. 9 breaths, Qin Wenyin calmly stated. If you dare to kill me, the 9 mystical palace will definitely annihilate you. Luo Qianqiu threatened. However, Qin Wenyin could only shake his head in disappointment. Luo Qianqiu had said that he was hiding in the crowd, and now that he was on the verge of death, Qin Wenyin actually used the name of the 9 mystical palace to threaten him. How many times have you tried to kill me already? How laughable. One day, I will personally go to the 9 mystical palace and take revenge for everything you've done. Qin Wenyan's palms abruptly erupted with a terrifying might. With an abrupt twist, Luo Qianqiu's eyes widened in shock as his pupils dilated. 10 breaths, just right. Qin Wenyan's hands loosened as Luo Qianqiu's body fell from the air. 10 breaths, Luo Qianqiu, who was at the second level of Yuanfu, died. Died in the hands of Qin Wenyin, who was at the first level of Yuanfu. This fellow. Qian Mingyu was speechless as she witnessed Luo Qianqiu's death. Such combat prowess was simply too shocking. This was even more shocking compared to the time when Qin Wenyin fought against the Swallow Swordsman. This young man was simply a demon-level character. Not only that, he hadn't joined any major powers and had only grown up in a place like Chu. How terrifying would he be in the future? Senior Jiang Hong's judgment is truly good. Sadly, it would be extremely difficult to recruit him into the Green Cloud Pavilion. Qian Mingyu silently mused. Chapter 220. It had been a very long time since Qin Wendian had fought. Just when many people were doubting his strength, Luo Qianqiu's domineering appearance had only served to serve as a foil for him. Luo Qianqiu, who was once the most dazzling genius in the royal palace of Chu, had died just to witness the rise of Qin Wenyin. The nervousness in Qin Chuan's heart finally dissipated. Staring at the silhouette in the air, a gentle smile could be seen in his eyes. Wendian. Qin Chuan clenched his fists tightly. He was truly happy. He had taken care of Qin Wenyin from a young age, all the way until Qin Wenyin was 16 years old. He knew how hardworking Qin Wenyin had been, but he had suffered too many disdainful looks. Only when he was 16 years old did he receive a new lease on life, only to coincide with the calamity that befell the Qin clan. Luckily, everything was over, and Qin Wenyin had finally released his radiance. Qin Wentian's eyes flickered with a strange light. That pair of deep eyes of his was unfathomable, as though no one could tell what he was thinking. Abruptly, Qin Wenyin, who was in the air, sensed an extremely dangerous aura. Several people who were engaged in combat suddenly gathered their strength and rushed towards Qin Wenyin. Their movements were in perfect unison, as though they had practiced this countless times before. Their killing intent locked onto Qin Wenyin. "Careful!" Ouyang Guangxing roared. Chu Mang took a step forward, as a gigantic axe appeared in his hands. The terrifying mountain-splitting axe exuded a terrifying mandate of mandate. The great axe astral soul was Chu Mang's third astral soul. Back then, after his elder brother Chu Wei had taught him how to comprehend the mandate of bow and arrow, he had instructed him to chop down trees. In the dark forest, he had chopped down countless trees, and in the end, with just a casual wave of his hand, he could cleave a tree in half. After that, when he used it on his axe, he discovered that the might of the great axe was even greater. Later on, his elder brother Chu Wei told him that the foundation of the mandate of axe, which was also the first level, was severing force. And he had already comprehended that kind of strength. Big Brother had read many books and knew many things. Not only did he teach him, but he also taught many orphans and some talented and pitiful people. He helped them do what they wanted to do the most but were powerless to do. He taught them how to cultivate. Those people were the people by Big Brother's side now. They were all willing to follow Big Brother and die for him. Naturally, Chu Mang knew that his elder brother Chu Wei had a very good relationship with those people. He truly hoped that they would be able to live a good life. If not, those people wouldn't respect his elder brother so much. Chu Mang stared at the person rushing over. His axe was like a tree he used to chop down, directly slashing downwards. A mysterious energy gushed forth as a terrifying golden line appeared in the air. After which, the person in front of Chu Mang was directly cleaved into two, as blood splattered through the air. "Who dares touch him?" Chu Mang roared in rage as he dashed towards the others. However, at this moment, Chu Tianjiao pointed behind him as he spoke. "Chu Mang, do you not care about your elder brother's life anymore?" Chu Mang turned his head, only to see several other assassins with cold auras rushing towards Chu Wei. This caused Chu Mang to howl in rage as he lunged towards Chu Wei. Chu Tianjiao coldly laughed. He understood Chu Mang's weakness too well. As long as someone wanted to kill his elder brother, he wouldn't care about anyone else. Right now, the strongest experts by his side had already started their battle. If Chu Mang remained here, how would he be able to kill Qin Wenyin? After witnessing Qin Wenyin killing Luo Qianqiu, not only did Chu Tianjiao not have any thoughts of retreating, he was even more determined to kill Qin Wenyin. Qin Wenyin had to die. If not, even if they won today, there would still be endless troubles in the future. Earlier, when Chu Mang acted, several assassin-like experts had already appeared beside Qin Wenyin. These people had been concealing their auras, blending into the battlefield. Although they appeared ordinary, it was evident that they were all assassins who had been waiting for this moment. "Go and help Qin Wenyin." Several people rushed over. Chu Wei couldn't help but shout, "Don't bother about me, go and watch your third brother." At this moment, Chu Tianjiao was still walking towards Qin Wenyin. In his hands, there was a lantern. With a flick of his hand, the lantern was tossed into the air. After which, he slammed his palm out, shattering the lantern. The light from the lantern illuminated the entire area, transforming into a screen of light that enveloped Chu Tianjiao, Qin Wenyan, and the assassins. Those who rushed over immediately unleashed their attacks on the screen of light. However, when their attacks landed on the screen of light, it was as though their attacks had landed on thin air. The light from the screen of light flashed brilliantly, but the screen of light remained unmoved. It was as though Chu Tianjiao, Qin Wenyan, and the rest were trapped within the lantern. This is the glazed lamp, a third-ranked high-grade divine weapon. Not only that, it can only be used once, and can only last for the time it takes for an incense to burn. And because it's a single-use divine weapon, its sealing ability is much stronger compared to ordinary third-ranked high-grade divine weapons. As long as it isn't a heavenly dipper sovereign, it's impossible to break it in an instant. Chu Tianjiao calmly continued, Qin Wenyan, you have indeed caused me to have a whole new level of respect for you. To think that you could even kill Luo Qianxiu, forcing me to use this glazed lamp on you. Even if you die, you should be proud of yourself. The spectators outside all heard Chu Tianjiao's words. Their countenances were extremely unsightly to behold, as they frenziedly attacked the glazed lamp. But just like what Chu Tianjiao had said, their attacks were all useless. Chu Tianjiao, in addition to those Yuanfu assassins, Qin Wenyan is in danger. Chu Mang, you are too impulsive. Chu Wei's countenance was extremely unsightly to behold. The gazes of the spectators froze, and many of them even lost the will to battle. Wendian, Ren Qianxing and those from the Emperor Star Academy all had expressions of extreme worry on their faces. Although Qin Wentian's talent was high, and his combat prowess was formidable as well, but no matter how strong he was, facing such a situation he would only have a 9 out of 10 chance of survival. Not to mention that Chu Tianjiao was ranked second among the 10 prodigies. Didn't he have any other powerful divine weapons on him other than the glazed lamp? They were too careless, allowing Qin Wenyan to fight against Luo Qianxiu. Who would have thought that Qin Wenyan would be tricked by Chu Tianjiao? Qin Wenyan, no matter how high your talent is, you chose the wrong path. Today, you are destined to die here, Chu Tianjiao calmly stated. Chu Tianjiao calmly stated. Right now, he felt a trace of admiration for Qin Wenyan. Indeed, Qin Wenyan was an unprecedented genius in Chu. However, since Qin Wenyan was his enemy, he had no choice but to die. Qin Wenyan didn't say anything. Abruptly, in the space enveloped by the glazed lamp, an intense demonic intent gushed forth. The pupils of Qin Wentian's eyes also gradually transformed into that of a demonic beast, turning cold to the extreme. At the same time, a heavy and terrifying pressure pressed down on this space. These two types of energies caused people to feel a sense of unease. The first level of the mandate of force, strength. At the initial level, one would be able to double one's attack power. The first level of the mandate of demonic, demonification. At the initial level, one's physique would be akin to that of a demon, transforming one's physique into that of a demon, entering a berserk state. Overall, one's attack power would be doubled. Behind Qin Wenyan, the wings of a Garuda materialized. At this moment, the wings of a Garuda resembled the wings of a true demon. Kill him. Chu Tianjiao's countenance gradually changed. It was as though he could sense that Qin Wenyan was undergoing a terrifying transformation. Busy. The assassins all moved at the same time, wielding sharp swords. Swords and daggers were the easiest weapons to assassinate. These assassins were like phantoms in the dark night, incomparably swift and ferocious, capable of killing with a single thought. However, as they moved, Qin Wentian's silhouette also moved. The whistling sound of the wind rang out, and his silhouette was like a shadow, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Boom! A terrifying sound rang out. The crowd abruptly turned their gazes over, only to see Qin Wentian's demonic arms glowing with a crimson light. He was currently clutching onto the neck of a person, slamming him into the glazed lamp. The other assassins had just arrived at the location where Qin Wenyan was standing earlier, and as they turned their heads to look at Qin Wenyan, expressions of disbelief could be seen on their faces. How fast? Earlier, it was as though they had just seen a shadow. Qin Wentian's speed was even faster than a true flying demonic beast. Not only that, his strength was simply terrifying. Only to see Qin Wenyin lifting his palms, directly blasting out a palm imprint onto the neck of the person he was clutching. Turning his head, his cold eyes swept through the crowd. With a flap of his wings, Qin Wenyin moved once again, transforming into a gray afterimage that was almost impossible to catch. In this narrow space, a terrifying demonic wind gusted forth. 9 Heavenly Garuda Movement Technique, Yuan Fu Scroll. Ren Qianxing drew in a deep breath as he stared at the silhouette of Qin Wenyin. His heart pounded violently. To think that Qin Wenyin could actually cultivate the 9 Heavenly Garuda Movement Technique to such a terrifying level. It was as though he had truly transformed into a Garuda. It was as though he was born to cultivate this innate technique. Ren Qianxing, this was the first time he had seen someone who could unleash such might from the 9 Heavenly Garuda Movement Technique. Qi! Within the glazed lamp, the afterimage flashed by, and the head of an assassin exploded. Hu Qi! Yet another sound rang out, as the center of the brows of another assassin was pierced through by a terrifying sword light. One after another, the assassins died. They were originally experts in killing, but now, they had become Qin Wentian's prey. One by one, they were slaughtered. The glazed lamp's seal wasn't able to suppress Qin Wentian, but it was able to suppress them. Naturally, this was also because the strength of these assassins wasn't that strong. They were experts in assassination, but their cultivation bases weren't high. But now, they had encountered a monster like Qin Wenyin, and could only be slaughtered one by one. Chu Tianjiao's countenance turned ashen as he watched the experts falling in front of him. How could this be? Even if Qin Wentian's speed was extremely fast, how could they not be able to withstand a single strike from him? A raging wind howled as Chu Tianjiao's countenance froze. Both his palms trembled as a dragon imprint appeared in the center of his palms, emitting a terrifying draconic roar as it slashed out. Qin Wentian's palm strike was akin to the raging waves of a tsunami. Only when Chu Tianjiao collided with Qin Wenyin did he truly understand how terrifying Qin Wentian's attack power was. Chu Tianjiao was at the 3rd level of Yuan Fu, and had cultivated the true dragon imprint art. Yet, the strength of Qin Wentian's attack was able to suppress him. Die! Qin Wenyin howled in rage. Blood-colored inscriptions frenziedly blasted into Chu Tianjiao's palms, forcing him to retreat. With a flick of his palms, an ancient golden imprint appeared in front of him, exuding a majestic aura as the draconic roar intensified. Seems like your highness is too busy scheming and has neglected your cultivation. You better step down. Qin Wentian coldly spoke. At this moment, his entire person resembled an ancient demon, incomparably arrogant. Shameless boasting. Chu Tianjiao coldly snorted, activating the power of the golden-colored divine weapon imprint. However, a blood-colored light flashed in front of Qin Wenyin as a blood-colored stone tablet floated in the air. With a booming sound, Chu Tianjiao felt his blood churning madly as his heart pounded violently. Your Highness isn't the only one with a divine weapon. Qin Wenyin blasted out the Yellow Springs monument, causing a malevolent expression to appear on Chu Tianjiao's face. His veins popped out, as though they were about to explode. This made him understand that if they were to compete in terms of divine weapons, he would still lose. It's time to end this. Qin Wenyin pointed his finger at the Yellow Springs monument as a terrifying blood-colored light flashed. Chu Tianjiao groaned in agony as he coughed out a mouthful of blood. His entire person slumped to the ground, slumping to the ground. The azure lamp didn't seal Qin Wenyin, but it did seal his path of retreat. Qin Wenyin slowly stepped forward, floating in the air above Chu Tianjiao. Chu Tianjiao inclined his head and stared at the silhouette of Qin Wenyin, feeling a sense of mockery in his heart. Back then, that stubborn young man had blocked his path in the snowstorm. At that time, he could still easily control Qin Wentian's life. But now, Qin Wentian's tyrannical attitude had completely suppressed him, looking down on him, the Emperor of Chu. Was everything really over? Chapter 221. Qin Wentian stared disdainfully at Chu Tianjiao. As the second-ranked prodigy, There was no need to doubt his talent. However, the disparity between him and Chu Mang was too great. Chu Tianjiao had abandoned his cultivation because of a power struggle. After all, a person's energy was limited. Although Chu Mang was simple-minded, it was precisely because of this that his elder brother told him to put in more effort in his cultivation. But even so, the spectators were all deeply shocked by Qin Wentian's tyrannical suppression. When they saw Chu Tianjiao using the glazed lamp to seal the space, they all thought that Qin Wentian was finished. However, could Qin Wentian really defeat Luo Qianqiu? Maybe, in his battle with Luo Qianqiu, they had only seen the tip of the iceberg. Earlier, the demonic Qin Wentian was simply too terrifying. The spectators could no longer see through this youth. In fact, none of them had even seen what Qin Wentian's third astral soul was. Which heavenly layer did it originate from? It was rumored that Qin Wentian's second astral soul was condensed from an astral soul from the fourth heavenly layer. What about his third astral soul? Was Qin Wentian intentionally concealing it? Was it because his astral souls were too powerful? Nobody knew what Qin Wentian's third astral soul was. Maybe Qin Wentian could change the color of his astral soul, but because it was too famous, those who were more knowledgeable would still be able to tell that it was the number 1 astral soul in the Warbeast Index. That astral soul originated from the 5th heavenly layer, and was an astral soul that was exceedingly difficult to condense. Chu Tianjiao, you wanted to seal my path, but now, you've landed yourself in a hopeless situation. Have you ever thought that you would end up like this? Qin Wentian stared at Chu Tianjiao as he spoke. Chu Tianjiao wiped away the traces of blood at the corner of his mouth as he stood up. A strange smile could be seen in his eyes. I've misjudged you. Not only me, the entire Chu country, including your grandpa Qin, have also misjudged you. Chu Tianjiao slowly continued. Nobody would have thought that you would be able to reach this step in less than 2 years. I admit that back then Chu Tianjiao didn't pay enough attention to you. That was the only mistake Chu Tianjiao made, a fatal mistake. Chu Tianjiao, don't you feel any shame at all? After killing the loyal and virtuous, you even used innocent girls to feed the dead. Qin Wentian coldly stated, staring at Chu Tianjiao's face. Naive. Chu Tianjiao coldly snorted. Since the ancient times, the winner is the king, while the loser is the bandit. The throne was originally built from piles of bones, and as for the descendants of the loyal ones, are you talking about Qin Hao? Your impression of your grandpa Qin is that of a benevolent old man. What a joke. If he was an ordinary old man, would he have allowed Icehawk to go undercover for so many years, and even participate in the siege of the Qin Manor? If he was an ordinary old man, would he be able to walk out of Black Castle and create such a storm? Chu Tianjiao sarcastically stared at Qin Wentian. How much do you know about your grandpa Qin? Do you know why he was so sure that I wouldn't dare to kill him? Why did he dare to put himself in danger? Do you know that even the royal palace I was in had to guard against the infiltration of Qin Hao's men? Do you know that my father's illness started after the death of Qin Wu, and coincidentally, he passed away in the midst of the chaos? Do you really think that this is a coincidence? My father is a Yuanfu cultivator. How could an illness defeat him? Chu Tianjiao's words caused Qin Wentian to furrow his brows. Chu Tianjiao's words were too terrifying. Even the royal palace had been infiltrated? Not only that, the death of the emperor had something to do with Qin Hao? Qin Wentian's gaze shifted to Qin Hao, who was standing outside the glass lamp, only to see Qin Hao clad in armor. His gaze was deep and calm, as though he had always been calm. If we're talking about the strength of our intelligence network, I'm afraid that even I, the Emperor of Chu, cannot compare to your grandpa Qin. Chu Tianjiao sarcastically laughed. No matter what you say, you still have to pay back the blood debt you owe. Qin Wentian calmly stated. Even if it wasn't for the sake of the Qin clan, for the sake of the Emperor Star Academy, for the sake of the students who had died, Chu Tianjiao had to die. Chu Tianjiao laughed. Since I've already lost, why should I fear death? I'm telling you all this not because I'm begging for my life. Today I, Qin Wentian, have never submitted to anyone in my life. My elder brother Chu Wei is naturally intelligent. I half admire him. As for your grandpa Qin Wu, I, Chu Tianjiao, regret that I wasn't able to witness his glory. Now that I've met you, Qin Wenin, I, Chu Tianjiao, truly admire you. You aren't as intelligent as Chu Wei, and you don't have Qin Wu's methods. Yet, you have an indomitable determination. No matter who the person in front of you is, no matter how powerful they are, your heart will never change. Such courage is admirable, and this is what I lack. Your talent in cultivation is truly shocking. I hope that you will be able to walk further down the path of the emperor. Hand over the authority of the emperor to Chu Wei. He is a good man with no flaws. Chu Tianjiao slowly spoke, before abruptly howling in rage. His palm imprinted onto the location of his own heart, causing a cracking sound to echo out. Chu Tianjiao stared at Qin Wenin as a smile appeared on his face. After which, he slowly closed his eyes. An outstanding heavens chosen of a generation had chosen to commit suicide. He was defeated by the current situation. He was defeated by Qin Wenin. To someone like him, if he lost, there was only death. He wasn't willing to struggle at death's door, nor was he willing to suffer any sort of humiliation or torture before dying. At the very least, he wanted to die with dignity. The battles in the surroundings ceased. Countless people inclined their heads, staring at Chu Tianjiao as they felt a sense of sorrow in their hearts. It's over, Chu Tianjiao has fallen. The words he said before his death were also extremely thought-provoking. Chu Tianjiao's death didn't cause Qin Wenin to feel too excited. He only felt a little more relaxed. At the very least, he had given Mountain and the Emperor Star Academy an explanation. The battle for the throne of Chu had finally come to an end. However, Qin Wentian's heart was heavy. What would happen next? Chu Wei or Qin Wu, who would rule Chu? Just like what Chu Wei and Chu Tianjiao had said to him, the authority to decide was no longer in the hands of Qin Wu or Chu Wei, but rather, it was in the hands of him, Qin Wenin. Qin Wentian's stance was the stance of the Emperor Star Academy. If he supported Chu Wei, the Emperor Star Academy would give up on the Qin clan for him. His stance was also the stance of the Ouyang aristocrat clan and Green Cloud Pavilion. These two powers could help Chu resolve the problem of the 9 mystical palace. His stance was also the stance of the Heavenly Dipper sovereign, Qing. The screen of light gradually dissipated as Chu Tianjiao's body fell from the skies. Chu Mang rushed over and caught hold of Chu Tianjiao before handing him over to Chu Wei. Chu Wei hugged the corpse of his third brother as he closed his eyes and silently sighed. The royal clan was heartless. Being born in the royal clan wasn't as fortunate as many people thought. Boom! A silhouette akin to a hurricane fell from the skies, ruthlessly slamming into the ground. This silhouette was none other than the Heavenly Dipper sovereign from the 9 mystical palace. Cough, cough. Coughing a few times, he inclined his head and stared at the descending figure of Qing as a deep sense of trepidation could be seen in his eyes. Qing Er's beautiful eyes stared at Qin Wenin, as though she was inquiring about Qin Wentian's stance. The matter of Chu is over. Those from the 9 mystical palace, scram now. Go back and tell those from the 3 great clans that in the future, they are not allowed to step into Chu for revenge. If not, let them be prepared to face the wrath of the Ouyang clan. Ouyang Quangsheng coldly stated. He spoke before Qin Wenin, not allowing Qin Wenin to be too ruthless. He, Ouyang Quangsheng, would be fine, but Qin Wenin still had to roam the Grand Xia Empire in the future. It was best not to offend the 9 mystical palace too much now. If a transcendent power was determined to deal with Qin Wenin would be in an extremely difficult situation. Maybe in the future, a huge conflict would erupt between them, but at the very least, they had to leave some buffer time for Qin Wenin. As for the Green Cloud Pavilion, from today onwards, the matters of Chu will have nothing to do with the 9 mystical palace. If you still want to interfere, my Green Cloud Pavilion will remember this. Qian Mingyu also expressed her stance, causing the countenances of those from the 9 mystical palace to turn incomparably unsightly. The Heavenly Dipper sovereigns soared up into the air, waving their hands as a group of people departed. Today, the 9 mystical palace could be considered to have fallen. They actually lost so much faith in Chu. In the future, they would no longer have the face to return to Chu. With the attitude of the Ouyang aristocrat clan and Green Cloud Pavilion, the three great clans of the Nine Mystical Palace wouldn't stand up for the fallen Luo Qianqiu. However, Luo Tianya would definitely hate Qin Wenyin. After all, the one who died was his son. The Nine Mystical Palace had left, Chu Tianjiao had fallen, and the four blood-colored old men had also died under the encirclement of the Nine Mystical Palace. The situation here could be said to be completely under the control of the Nine Mystical Palace. Now, it was time to settle the debts of the Chu Empire. Wendian. Qin Wu called out. Qin Wenyan shifted his gaze onto Qin Wu, but at this moment his state of mind was different. When he looked at Qin Wu, there was no longer the sense of closeness he had in the past. Instead, he felt a sense of unfamiliarity. Thanks to you, we managed to avenge our Qin clan. Now, there's only the matter of the Yi clan left. It's about time to settle it. Why don't I take control of the situation first? Qin Wu smiled, appearing extremely calm. However, Qin Wenyan lightly shook his head. Grandpa Qin, this place is already chaotic enough. According to the agreement we made before entering the royal capital, you should withdraw your troops to the outskirts of the royal capital first. Qin Wentian's words caused Qin Wenyan to freeze, while strange expressions appeared on the faces of many others. Was Qin Wenyan hinting that he wanted Qin Wu to give up on the royal capital? Wenyan, I'm still a little worried. Qin Wu continued, I, Qin Wu, am not greedy for power and authority. Not only that, I'm already so old, I don't want to suffer the humiliation of the past. After we pacify Chu, let your father, Qin Chuan, inherit the throne. How about it? Qin Wenyan froze for a moment, before shifting his gaze onto Qin Chuan. Qin Chuan glanced at his father, Qin Wu, before shifting his gaze onto Qin Wenyan. Traces of a struggle could be seen in his eyes, but after which, he drew in a deep breath and gently smiled at Qin Wenyan. Wenyan, father, I will respect your wishes. Qin Wentian's gaze faltered for a moment before he smiled radiantly at Qin Chuan. Thank you, father. Let me speak a few words with General Qin Wu alone. At this moment, Chu Mang led Chu Wei down from the rooftop, walking towards Qin Wu's side. After which, Chu Mang made an inviting gesture with his hands. Qin Wu's brows furrowed as he followed Chu Wei to the side of a gigantic pillar. General Qin Wu, it's time to settle all the grudges between us. After I become the emperor, I will bestow a few cities to the Qin clan, allowing you to be at ease as an outsider. As for those who follow you, I won't touch a single one of them. I only hope that they will be able to defend the borders of Chu, Chu Wei stated in a low voice. Qin Wu stared at him as he calmly replied, I don't like to give the initiative to others. There are some things I don't wish to speak too clearly. Chu Wei calmly continued, I also don't wish to affect your relationship with Qin Wenyan. In the royal capital, there aren't many people who could kill Xiao Lan and the others. Gu He is one of them. He was the personal bodyguard of my third brother and was once a follower of my father. I really don't wish to suspect that he had anything to do with my father's death, but I still paid attention to him. When Xiao Lan died, he wasn't by my third brother's side. I also know one more thing. Gu He had once followed Qin Wu to the battlefield, and General Qin Wu had once saved his life. Chu Wei slowly spoke, his words causing Qin Wu's eyes to narrow. Chapter 222. Chu Wei's words were very clear. He also knew that Qin Hao naturally understood what he was saying. If the anger of the Nine Mystical Palace landed on the royal clan and the Emperor Star Academy, it would undoubtedly weaken the strength of both parties. At the same time, it would also cause the royal clan and the Emperor Star Academy to walk down a path of irreconcilable enmity. General Qin, let's leave the royal capital. I don't wish for our grudges to continue. Let the past be swept away by the wind. Chu Wei calmly stated. Qin Hao stared at his clean countenance as a cold glint of light flickered in his eyes. General Qin Wenyan isn't a fool. There are many things that he has already seen through. It's just that he doesn't wish to say anything. If you insist on being stubborn, I'm afraid that the relationship between him and the Qin clan will no longer be able to be maintained. If you kill me here, it would be equivalent to admitting that the person who dealt the fatal blow to Qin Wenyan back then was one of your men. Chu Wei's gaze abruptly turned sharp as he stared at Qin Hao. That day, before the royal clan and the Emperor Star Academy completely fell out, Qin Wenyan had suffered an assassination attempt. That assassination attempt caused the relationship between the royal clan and the Emperor Star Academy to plunge to the freezing point. And this was in addition to the fact that Qin Wenyan didn't die. If Qin Wenyan had died back then, the royal clan and the Emperor Star Academy would have directly engaged in a decisive battle. Qin Hao similarly stared at Chu Wei, his countenance ice-cold. After a long moment of silence, he laughed. Good, good. I've never treated Chu Tianjiao as my opponent, but who would have thought that I would be defeated by the Crown Prince? Chu Wei, you have won. After speaking, Qin Hao lifted his feet and departed. Qin Wenyan stared at his silhouette as he followed after him. Everything would eventually come to an end. Let's move out. We will return to the outskirts of the royal capital. Qin Hao returned to his original location as he commanded in a loud voice. The soldiers all froze as they inclined their heads and stared at Qin Wenyan in the air. After which, they all sighed as they departed. Had Qin Wenyan made his own decision? Wenyan. Qin Chuan didn't leave, he was staring at the silhouette in the air. Qin Wenyan took a step forward and landed beside Qin Chuan. He smiled and said, Father, your son is unfilial. Silly child. Qin Chuan rubbed Qin Wentian's head. In the eyes of this iron-blooded man, Qin Wenyan would forever be a child. No matter how brilliant he was still Qin Chuan's son, his pride. In the future, your father will not be able to help you. You must walk on your own path. Forget about the past. Qin Chuan said meaningfully. Don't worry, father. When I have time, I will return to Sky Harmony City to visit you. Qin Wenyan held his father's hand tightly. No matter how Qin Hao was, his father, Qin Chuan, was still a man of steel. Little guy, you've grown up. Qin He and Qin Yi also walked to Qin Wentian's side and grinned. Qin Wenyan glanced at Qin He's severed arm, feeling an unbearable feeling in his heart. This was the price he had to pay for seizing power. Wasn't Qin Hao ashamed of his actions? Drawing in a deep breath, Qin Wenyan walked up and gave Qin He and Qin Yi a tight hug. Second uncle, third uncle, take care of yourselves in the future. Don't worry. Qin He smiled as though he didn't remember his severed arm. In the future, when you're out adventuring, be more low profile and be cautious. Qin He instructed. Stinking brat, when you're successful in the future, don't forget your third uncle. Qin Yi casually patted Qin Wentian's shoulder. Back then, they had witnessed Qin Wenyan awakening his talent. Now that Qin Wenyan had reached this step, they felt gratified. Qin Wenyan was their family, their kin. Even if he didn't give the emperor's authority to the Qin clan, it wouldn't affect their feelings towards Qin Wenyan. The men of the Qin clan all had bones of steel. Qin Wenyan heavily nodded his head. Alright, this last probably has something to say to you. Qin He and Qin Yi stepped aside. After which, Qin Wenyan saw a beautiful silhouette. It was none other than Qin Yao, whom he had asked the students of the Emperor Star Academy to send away. Sister, you look so beautiful even after wearing armor. Qin Wenyan smiled as he looked at Qin Yao. Qin Yao was clad in armor, exuding a sense of heroism. Smooth talker. Qin Yao rolled her eyes at Qin Wenyan. What are your plans for the future? I'll see. I might leave Chu soon to roam the world. Qin Wenyan replied. Based on your talent, you should leave. Chu is too small for you. Qin Yao nodded her head. However, wouldn't it be hard to see you in the future? Thinking of this, a hint of disappointment could be seen in Qin Yao's beautiful eyes. The two of them grew up together, and their relationship was extremely deep. How can that be? How could I not come back to see sister? Qin Wenyan laughed, as though he was trying to hide the pain of parting. Qin Yao naturally understood Qin Wentian's thoughts. She silently walked forward, gazing at the handsome youth who had grown up. After which, Qin Yao tiptoed as she placed a light kiss on Qin Wentian's forehead. After which, Qin Yao turned and ran away. She turned her head back and smiled sweetly at Qin Wenin. Smelly brat, remember to come back to see sister in the future. Looking at the departing back of Qin Yao, Qin Wenin heavily nodded his head. The members of the Qin clan gradually left. Qin Hao didn't even bid farewell to Qin Wenin. Maybe he was blaming Qin Wenin, or maybe he was feeling guilty for what he had done. Qin Wenin didn't want to guess the reason. He only knew that Qin Chuan, Qin He, Qin Yi, and his sister Qin Yao were his family. In order not to affect this familial love, he would rather let some things go with the wind. Just like what Chu Wuwei had said to Qin Hao, Qin Wenin wasn't an idiot. He could already guess some of the things that had happened. However, it was better to let it go. With the departure of those from the Qin clan and the death of Chu Tianjiao, Qin Wenin believed that with Chu Wuwei's capabilities, he would be able to easily control the situation. After all, no one was more familiar with the various powers in the royal capital than Chu Wei. Chu Wei walked to the side of Qin Wenin as he smiled, "Leave the rest to me. After everything is settled, I will treat you to a drink." Qin Wenin lightly nodded his head as he turned and departed. Those from the Ouyang aristocrat clan and Green Cloud Pavilion also left together with Qin Wenin. As for that supreme beauty, she had long since disappeared. Just like that, the commotion that had rocked the entire Chu country came to an end. Qin Wenin left as far as he could, as though everything had nothing to do with him. However, among the various rumors circulating in the royal capital, Qin Wenin undoubtedly became one of the main characters. Not even 2 years had passed since he stepped into the royal capital, and he had already obtained the position of champion in the Jun Lin banquet. And now, he had even changed the history of Chu. Currently, there wasn't a single person in the royal capital who didn't know of Qin Wentian's name. It was rumored that he had killed Luo Qianxiu, who was at the second level of Yuanfu, in a domineering manner in the span of 10 breaths. It was also rumored that he had used absolute strength to kill Chu Tianjiao. There was also a rumor that the person who could ultimately decide who would inherit the throne was none other than Qin Wenin. He didn't choose to hand over the throne to the Qin clan, but chose to hand it over to Chu Wei instead. Naturally, with regards to the various rumors, there would always be traces of exaggeration. The number of people who knew the truth would always be the minority, but there was one thing that was undeniable. Qin Wenin was the mastermind behind this battle for the throne. A cold wind blew past the royal capital. After Chu Wei reorganized the situation in the royal capital, he issued an order. Back then, because of the mistakes of the previous emperor, the Wu king was wronged, and the Qin clan had no choice but to rebel. Now that the Qin clan knew that they had lost their way, they would let bygones be bygones. Qin Wu was bestowed the position of the martial king, a position that could be passed down from generation to generation. Sky Harmony City was also conferred to the other 10 cities. At the same time, the royal clan helped to rebuild the Emperor Star Academy, acknowledging its position as the #1 academy in Chu. Not only that, Chu Wei personally took on the role of an elder of the Emperor Star Academy and would personally head to the Emperor Star Academy to guide students when he had time. This caused many to speculate. Wasn't Chu Wei unable to cultivate? How could he guide students? After this news was circulated, the martial king Qin Hao's immeasurably deep eyes glanced at the ancient imperial city. After that, he brought his people and left. His eyes were filled with complex emotions. It was time, it was fate. If he had known that Qin Wenin would end up like this today, he wouldn't have planned so many things as he did back then. Sadly, everything was over. Chu Wei wasn't Chu Tianjiao. He wouldn't give him any more chances. In fact, he wouldn't even have an excuse to send troops out again. In this gamble, he deeply felt how powerful that young man's methods were. It was as though everything was in the palm of his hand. Qin Wu had missed this opportunity. If he missed it, it would be the same for the rest of his life. Qin Wu was like this, so was the Bai clan. At this moment, Bai Qingsong and Autumn Snow were standing outside a manor, their countenances calm as they stared at the ancient manor in front of them. The once illustrious Yi clan was now desolate and desolate, filled with a sense of desolation and desolation. The Yi clan is finished. After Bai Qingsong's cultivation base was crippled, He had aged many times compared to before. His hair had already turned white, and as he stared at the Yi clan in front of him, he felt an indescribable feeling in his heart. Autumn Snow nodded her head lightly. The Yi clan was finished. In this gamble, the Yi clan and the O clan were Chu Tianjiao's die-hard supporters. Both of them had suffered heavy casualties during the battle, and after the dust had settled, Chu Wei reorganized the Yi clan. The Yi clan was the first to be purged. There was no other reason. It was because Chu Wei had to give Qin Wenyan an explanation. This would determine the ending of the Yi clan, a complete loss. The affairs of the world are unpredictable, too fast, too fast. Bai Qingsong sighed deeply. This was a sigh that came from the depths of his heart. The Yi clan's performance had reached the pinnacle. Who would have thought that the once glorious Yi clan would fall so quickly? Who would have thought that the Qin clan that seemed to be on the brink of destruction would suddenly become a major power that could engulf the entire Chu country? Who would have thought that the trash from a year ago would actually control the fate of the Chu country, controlling the authority of the Chu country? If Bai Qingsong could have thought of this, he wouldn't have made such a decision back then even if he had to die. The passing of time is like a dream, just like a dream. Bai Qingsong turned and departed. His back was slightly hunched, as he exuded an air of old age. The nobility of a general was already like this, let alone ordinary commoners. Autumn Snow gazed at the vicissitudes of her father, as traces of tears appeared in her eyes. Chapter 223. Very quickly, Chu Wei settled the matter in the royal capital and started to rebuild the Emperor's Star Academy. This incident allowed everyone to witness the glory of the former crown prince. Although Qin Wenyan was the main character in this battle, Chu Wei, who was the weakest among the various powers, had ascended to the throne in the end. From this, one could very well imagine how powerful he was. Many people couldn't help but to seriously look at this former crown prince. In the Emperor's Star Academy, Qin Wenyan gazed at the towering buildings that were erected one after another. Outside the academy, the recruitment process had begun, as well as the return of the students who had left the academy. I thought that I would never see this day again. Who would have thought that it would come so quickly? Ren Qianxing stood beside Qin Wenyan. A smile could be seen in his eyes. He was too happy to witness the revival of the Emperor's Star Academy. The Emperor's Star Academy will be the same as before, the #1 academy in Chu. Qin Wenyan laughed. Looking at the faces of the students, it was as though he was looking at his past self. I've never doubted Chu Wei. He is different from Chu Tianjiao. Maybe in his hands, Chu will have a better future. Ren Qianxing mumbled. Sadly, foster father won't be able to see this. How hateful. I don't even know if foster father is still alive or dead. I, Ren Qianxing, am too useless. The foster father he was referring to was none other than the headmaster of the Emperor's Star Academy, Dai. Nothing will happen to the headmaster. There will be a day when I step into the 9 mystical palace. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with sharpness. This time around, if it wasn't for the Ouyang aristocrat clan and Green Cloud Pavilion, they wouldn't have been able to suppress the 9 mystical palace. I believe in you. Ren Qianxing smiled as he looked at Qin Wenyan. Qin Wentian's talent caused him to have an intense confidence in Qin Wenyan. Previously he had misjudged Luo Tianya, but this time around he wasn't wrong. Wendian. A voice drifted over from behind. Mustang, Luo Huan and Fan Lu walked over. Teacher, Sister Luo Huan. Qin Wendian smiled. What are your plans for the future? Mustang asked as he looked at Qin Wenyan. Let's go out and take a look. Since the matters in Chu were settled, it was time for him to walk his own path and grow. Do you want to bring your sister Luo Huan along? Luo Huan giggled, as though she had regained her usual radiance. That's great. I can't ask for more than anything to have such a beautiful woman like senior sister with me, Qin Wenyan said with a smile. You're getting better at talking. Luo Huan glared at Qin Wenyan. I won't drag you down. Also, I don't intend to leave now. Let's wait for a period of time. Sure. Fatty, what are your plans? Qin Wenyan stared at Fan Lu as he asked. Fan Le narrowed his eyes as he pulled a long face and replied in a depressed tone. Initially, I wanted to roam the world together with you, but the difference in talent is too great. Forget it, I think it's better for me to follow Sister Luo Huan. Qin Wenyin stared at the serious expression on Fatty Fan Li's face as he cast a glance of disdain at him. Damn it, he even found a good reason to follow a beautiful woman. I didn't say I would bring you along. Luo Huan giggled, causing Fan Li's face to sink. Forget it then, I can only bear with it and follow him. Fan Le glanced at Qin Wenyin as he spoke in a depressed tone, causing Qin Wenyin to laugh, silently cursing Fatty in his heart. Actually, Fatty's talent wasn't bad at all. After Mustang and Luo Huan were captured, Qin Wenyin had rescued them and found out that Fatty had already broken through to Yuanfu. Luo Huan teased Fatty, asking him if he broke through due to some kind of stimulation. Fatty honestly replied, saying that even in his dreams, he wanted to save his sister Luo Huan, which was why he accidentally broke through to Yuanfu. Fan Le was the first friend that Qin Wenyin had made after he entered the royal capital. They had a friendship of life and death. Naturally, he hoped that Fatty would be able to roam the world with him. Other than being a little shameless, Fatty didn't have any other flaws. Are you interested in joining the Green Cloud Pavilion for cultivation? At this moment, a silhouette walked over. She had a slender figure and was beautiful and dignified. It was none other than Chen Mingyu. Chen Mingyu smiled as she looked at Qin Wenyin, extending an invitation to him. Qin Wenyin was extremely grateful to Chen Mingyu for the matter this time around. He had long since forgotten about the unhappiness between them. However, he still hadn't decided which transcendent power to join. Naturally, it was impossible for him to agree to Chen Mingyu's invitation. I still wish to roam the world by myself and see the outside world. In the future, I will decide which transcendent power to join. Qin Wenyin smiled. Good, when you want to join a big force, you must remember to take my clear cloud pavilion into consideration. This is what I promised. Chen Mingyu no longer exuded the aura of nobility. She had already treated Qin Wenyin as someone on the same level as her. In fact, she even faintly admired Qin Wenyin. Definitely. Qin Wenyin smiled as he nodded his head. Since this is the case, I shall take my leave first. We shall meet again in the future if there's an opportunity. Chen Mingyu gently smiled. It was about time for her to depart. There will be an opportunity in the future. At that time, don't forget to acknowledge me, the vagabond Wu Xiu. Qin Wenyin jokingly replied. Chen Mingyu departed just like that. Staring at her departing back, Fan Le mumbled, "Why don't I have such good luck with the ladies?" After which, Fatty dejectedly departed, as though he had suffered a blow. His actions caused Qin Wenyin to be speechless. Not long after the people from the Green Cloud Pavilion left, Ouyang Guangxing also bade farewell and departed. After all, the reason he came to Chu was to visit Qin Wenyin. Now that the matters in the Dark Forest were almost settled, it was about time for him to return. However, he believed that there would definitely be a day when he would meet Qin Wenyin again. In the Mo clan, Mo Qingqing had always been paying attention to the news in the royal capital. After knowing that the dust had settled, Mo Qingqing's heart finally calmed down. She was extremely happy in her heart, happy for Qin Wenyin. She had heard that he had easily defeated Luo Qianxiu, who was at the second level of Yuanfu, and even suppressed Chu Tianjiao. Such an impressive battle record caused Mo Qingqing to be filled with anticipation for Qin Wentian's future. However, although Mo Qingqing was paying attention to the news in the royal capital, Old Man Mo was more concerned about when Qin Wenyin would set off. As for the matters in Chu, Old Man Qin had never been too interested in them. After all, he had seen too many wonderful things in the outside world. Naturally, he couldn't care less about the so-called waves of wind and waves in Chu. He only knew that Qin Wenyin was the victor, but so what? Although Qin Wenyin was only at the first level of Yuanfu, he still had to borrow the strength of others. How big of a wave could he stir up by himself? Not only that, this thought only appeared in Old Man Mo's heart once, and he didn't think too much about it. Old Man Mo, who was sitting in the pavilion, frowned, feeling somewhat depressed. Earlier, Bai Fei had impolitely told him that if Emo Qingqing continued to delay and refused to leave, she would report this matter to her master. Old man, there's no need to worry. Since Qingqing wants to wait for Qin Wenyan to leave, let's wait a few more days. Hua Xiaoyun, who was sitting opposite of Old Man Emo, laughed. This lass is too outrageous. Old Man Emo was even more enraged when he heard Hua Xiaoyun's words. I really don't know what's wrong with her. After all, Qingqing is still young, and she hasn't interacted with many people yet. When she heads to Grand Xia in the future, her way of thinking will slowly change. Hua Xiaoyun persuaded. Maybe. Old Man Emo sighed. Xiaoyun, you should spend more time with Qingqing. Although this lass has a stubborn personality, her heart is still very good. You don't have to take what happened back then to heart. Nachum, how can I be calculative with Qingqing over such a small matter? Hua Xiaoyun laughed as he shook his head. Old man, why don't I go and persuade Qingqing? Old Man Emo fell silent for a moment. He knew that Hua Xiaoyun was pursuing Emo Qingqing, and he also hoped that the two of them would be able to get along. However, Emo Qingqing seemed to have a grudge against Hua Xiaoyun. Okay, have a good chat with her. Old Man Emo nodded his head. I'll be leaving first then. Hua Xiaoyun bid his farewell, as he turned and headed towards the courtyard where Emo Qingqing was staying. A cold light flickered in his eyes as he stared at Qin Wenyan. He had received news from his elder brother that the matter on the other side was about to be settled. This meant that Luo he would soon bring those from the Pill Emperor Hall away, and Emo Qingqing would be leaving as well. This was the best opportunity for him to capture Emo Qingqing. However, Emo Qingqing wasn't friendly towards him at all. Every time he met her, she would always treat him coldly. She had even berated him before, causing him to harbor a grudge in his heart. Without him, would Emo Qingqing be where she was today? And now, she actually dared to act all high and mighty in front of him? How laughable! Emo Qingqing's courtyard was quiet and tranquil. Upon seeing Hua Xiaoyun directly entering, she couldn't help but ask in a cold tone, What are you doing here? Upon seeing Emo Qingqing's cold attitude, Hua Xiaoyun's heart grew colder despite the smile on his face. Miss Emo, no matter what, I recommended you to enter the Pill Emperor Hall, and I'm also a guest of your Emo residence. Even if you don't like me, there's no need for you to treat me this way. Hua Xiaoyun slowly walked forwards. Emo Qingqing furrowed her brows, but she didn't dare to go overboard. Hua Xiaoyun walked closer to her, and abruptly his silhouette flickered as he flicked his hands, causing a stream of gray energy to flow into Emo Qingqing's body. Emo Qingqing's countenance instantly turned frosty as she shouted, What are you doing? As the sound of her voice faded, Emo Qingqing's countenance changed. That gray energy actually circulated within her body, swiftly numbing her body. In fact, she felt as though her entire body was devoid of energy, and she felt as though she was about to collapse. Her countenance paled as she stared at Hua Xiaoyun. What are you trying to do? Emo Qingqing discovered that her voice was extremely weak, almost inaudible. Her countenance turned even paler. Hua Xiaoyun's countenance was filled with an evil light as he stared at Emo Qingqing. You are so beautiful, what do you think I'm trying to do? You dare? Emo Qingqing's voice was as soft as ever, as she struggled to move backwards. I don't dare? Why wouldn't I dare? What status do I, Hua Xiaoyun, have? If I touch you, even if it's for the sake of your reputation, the Mo clan wouldn't object, right? And even if they object, what can they do to me? As for the Pill Emperor Hall, even if they are angered, they wouldn't kill me. What loss would I have? On the contrary, I've already obtained the body of a supreme beauty. Hua Xiaoyun continued, since you want to pretend to be virtuous and virtuous, I want to see how you will continue to act. Maybe after I'm done with you, you will change your mind and follow this young master with all your heart. Hua Xiaoyun's countenance contorted with malevolence, as his disguise as a spoiled brat was completely revealed. How beautiful, causing my heart to flutter. TSK is it? Hua Xiaoyun walked forwards, his eyes filled with greed as he stared at Emo Qingqing's alluring figure. Emo Qingqing's countenance contorted as she pulled out a dagger from her robes, her eyes filled with incomparable rage as she glared at Hua Xiaoyun. You want to kill me? Do you still have the strength? Hua Xiaoyun asked in a low voice. Father, mother, when in I'm sorry. A teardrop flowed down from Mo Qingqing's beautiful eyes. After which, she pierced the divine weapon dagger into her heart. Although she didn't have much strength left in her, the divine weapon dagger was extremely sharp. Fresh blood dyed her robes red, and the tears in her eyes caused the hearts of those who saw it to ache. She didn't expect Hua Xiaoyun to be so despicable. In that case, she could only use her life to protect her purity. Are you crazy? Hua Xiaoyun's countenance turned incomparably ugly to behold. Staring at the resolute expression on Mo Qingqing's face, he suddenly felt fear in his heart. Mo Qingqing was committing suicide, refusing to let him touch her even in death. This crazy woman. Chapter 224. Hua Xiaoyun panicked when he saw the incessant flow of blood from Mo Qingqing's heart. This ending was far more tragic than what he had imagined. Not only would he not be able to obtain Mo Qingqing's body, he would even become the murderer of Mo Qingqing. If that was the case, the Mo clan wouldn't dare to do anything to him, but those from the Pill Emperor Hall would definitely bear a grudge against him. Especially that woman Luo He. If she knew that he had forced the death of her beloved disciple, she would definitely do anything in a fit of anger. Don't stab me anymore, I'll let go, I'll let go. Hua Xiaoyun shouted in a loud voice. Mo Qingqing's body had already softly slumped to the ground. Originally, she had no strength left in her body. How could she endure such agony? However, her beautiful eyes were still wide open, hoping that the bastard wouldn't touch her. What's going on? Several people rushed over upon hearing the commotion, and upon seeing Mo Qingqing lying in a pool of her own blood, their countenances instantly turned as pale as paper. Something happened to Miss, a voice exclaimed, akin to a thunderbolt from the clear skies, resounding throughout the entire Mo clan. In the blink of an eye, more and more people arrived. When Mo Tianlin arrived, he saw his beloved daughter lying in a pool of blood, and his face paled. Qingqing. Mo Tianlin's body trembled as he held Mo Qingqing's body in his arms. Upon seeing her father's arrival, a smile appeared on Mo Qingqing's face. Her lips trembled as though she wanted to say something, yet no words came out. Who did this? Mo Tianlin's eyes flickered with a terrifying coldness as he stared at Hua Xiaoyun. What's going on? Bai Fei and the rest also rushed over, and upon witnessing this scene, their countenances all changed. It wasn't me, I was only joking with her, but she actually treated it so seriously. Hua Xiaoyun tried to explain himself. There was no way he would admit that he had ulterior motives towards Mo Qingqing. Bai Fei coldly glanced at him, before walking over to Mo Qingqing's side. Instantly, she retrieved a bottle of medicinal pills and fed them to Mo Qingqing. One of her hands was placed on Mo Qingqing's chest, while the other was placed on her wrist. Hua Xiaoyun, you bastard. It was as though Bai Fei knew what Hua Xiaoyun had done to Mo Qingqing. She glared at him in rage. Are you kidding me? Do you even need to use the energy disintegration powder to deal with her? You bastard. Although Bai Fei didn't have a favorable impression of Mo Qingqing, she was still a woman. How could she not be enraged that Hua Xiaoyun would use such a despicable method to deal with Mo Qingqing? How dare you? Hua Xiaoyun's countenance was filled with malevolence. However, after being exposed by Bai Fei, he calmed down a little. Do you know who you're talking to? Spoiled brat, who do you think you are? If it weren't for your elder brother, do you think you would have the qualifications to talk to me? Bai Fei was also angered. As the disciple of Dan King's daughter, Luo He, she was also very proud. How could this spoiled brat be so arrogant? Hua Xiaoyun's countenance alternated between shades of green and white, growing more and more malevolent by the moment. He glared at Bai Fei as he ruthlessly spat in his heart, "Smelly whore, don't ever fall into this daddy's hands." However, he didn't dare to say these words out loud. After all, this woman wasn't someone to be trifled with. Let's save her first. Yan Qi, hurry and inform Master. I'm afraid she's in grave danger, Bai Fei commanded. Yan Qi nodded his head as he turned and departed. A gentle glow radiated from Bai Fei's body, enveloping Emo Qingqing's body. After which, streams of warm energy flowed into Emo Qingqing's body, nourishing her. However, she didn't dare to move the dagger embedded in her chest. Emo Tunlin stood at the side, his entire body trembling with anxiety. His eyes were fixed on Hua Xiaoyun, as if he wanted nothing more than to dismember him into a million pieces. Old Emo also arrived. His countenance was extremely unsightly to behold, as he already knew what had happened here. Old Emo, I was in the wrong. I only wanted to play a prank on Miss Emo. I will make amends. Hua Xiaoyun's countenance flickered as he watched Old Man Mo's body tremble with rage. He then opened his mouth to explain. He had already met this madwoman, Emo Qingqing. If Old Emo were to go crazy and kill him without a care for the consequences, his death would be too unjust. At that time, even if the Emo clan were to be buried together with him, it would still be useless. Now, he could only endure and calm the Emo clan down. Young Master Hua, please don't move around recklessly. Old Emo coldly stated, suppressing the anger in his heart. Evidently, he knew that he had misjudged Hua Xiaoyun, but when he thought of Hua Xiaoyun's background, he could only endure it. Don't worry, I won't leave. Hua Xiaoyun swallowed his anger. Father, kill him. Emo Tunlin roared in rage, his voice somewhat hoarse, causing Hua Xiaoyun's countenance to freeze as he coldly stated, I was only joking. I believe that nothing will happen to Miss Emo. You better think carefully before you speak. You shut up. Old Emo swept a glance at Emo Tunlin. If those from the major powers outside killed him, the Emo clan would be buried together with him. Now, he could only pray that nothing would happen to Emo Qingqing. The silence of the Emo clan was suddenly broken, as the entire residence was enveloped in a tense atmosphere. Not only that, the news of Emo Qingqing's death was also known by those close to her. Bai Fei did her best to save Emo Qingqing's life. After all, Emo Qingqing was the disciple of her master, and if she didn't do her best, her master would definitely blame her. Luckily, she managed to stabilize Emo Qingqing's life. Now, all that was left was to wait for her master to arrive. At this moment, Qin Wenyan was in the bamboo cabin, standing in front of the river. As he thought of Emo Qingqing, a gentle smile involuntarily appeared on his face. That silly lass, he wondered how she was doing now. Thinking back to that night when Emo Qingqing wanted to stay behind, Qin Wenyan felt a warmth in his heart. That lass had already given her heart to him, and even now, she still hadn't left. It was as though she was waiting for him to leave before she would be willing to leave. Pill Emperor Hall, Qin Wenyan murmured. At this moment, a commotion drifted over from behind. Qin Wenyan turned his gaze over, and when he saw who it was, an expression of bewilderment appeared on his face. It was actually Nolan. Why was she looking for him? Not only that, Nolan's countenance was extremely unsightly, as though something urgent had happened. Qin Wenyan, something happened to Qingqing. Nolan spat out, causing Qin Wenyan's heart to pound. After which, he dashed out, instantly appearing beside Nolan. What happened to Qingqing? Qin Wenyan anxiously asked. It's that bastard Hua Xiaoyun. I heard that he had designs on Qingqing, and that silly lass Qingqing committed suicide. She's still in a coma, and when I went to the Emo residence, the Emo clan forbade anyone from entering. I couldn't even see Qingqing's situation, so I could only come here to look for you. Nolan's eyes reddened. She and Emo Qingqing had been sisters for many years, and now that Emo Qingqing's situation was unknown, she naturally felt sad. Bzz. Qin Wenyan's mind trembled violently, as though he had been struck by lightning. His countenance instantly paled, and a terrifying chill gushed forth from his body, causing Nolan to be so frightened that she involuntarily retreated. Qingqing. Qin Wenyan's heart was in a state of chaos. He soared up into the skies as a pair of Garuda wings appeared on his back. Demonic chi gushed forth from him as demonic yuan energy frenziedly circulated around him. A terrifying gust of wind gusted by as his body transformed into a black beam of light that flickered as he sped away. Hua Xiaoyun. A voice filled with killing intent drifted down from the heavens, filled with boundless rage and killing intent. No one could describe the coldness and anger in Qin Wentian's heart, as well as the fear and worry he felt. This was the first time he was so afraid, never before. Qin Wentian's speed was unprecedentedly fast, as he arced through the skies, speeding towards the direction of the Mo residence. His anxiety was like a burning fire, and he felt that every second was unbearable. After a very long time, he finally saw the Mo residence. Not far away from Qin Wentian, another silhouette could be seen flying over. This silhouette was even faster than before, and when she glanced at Qin Wentian, her eyes were filled with an unfathomable depth, as though she wanted to see through Qin Wentian with a single glance. This was a beautiful young married woman, exuding an air of nobility and elegance, yet exuding a terrifying aura. Her entire body seemed to be enveloped by rays of light, as she transformed into a beam of light and directly entered the Mo residence. The people of the Mo residence couldn't even see her shadow, let alone obstructing her. However, when the people of the Mo residence saw the arrival of Qin Wentian, a few of them soared up into the skies as they roared in rage. Outsiders are not allowed to scram. But before the sound of their voices faded, a roar filled with demonic qi rang out. Abruptly, a terrifying demonic sword shot out with a speed as fast as lightning. Those who blocked the attack instantly evaded it, and after that, they only saw that silhouette rushing into the Mo residence. Qin Wentian soon found Mo Qingqing. He dove down, and when he saw Mo Qingqing's white robes dyed red with blood, his body involuntarily trembled. Qingqing. His silhouette transformed into a blur, leaping through the crowd and landing beside Mo Qingqing. When he saw the pale countenance of her, his heart ached. "Don't disturb Master," Bai Fei shouted at Qin Wentian. Only now did Qin Wentian notice that the beautiful married woman was treating Mo Qingqing. "Bai Fei, let's enter." A gentle glow enveloped Mo Qingqing's body as the beautiful woman led Bai Fei and the other disciples into the room. Qin Wentian didn't dare to enter and disturb them. He could only pray that Qingqing was safe and sound. "What are you doing here?" Old Mo furrowed his brows as he noticed Qin Wentian's sudden appearance. Qin Wentian slowly turned his gaze over, staring at Hua Xiaoyun, who was standing behind old Mo. A terrifying killing intent gushed forth, madly gushing towards Hua Xiaoyun. Boom! Qin Wentian stepped out, advancing towards Hua Xiaoyun. Old Mo's frown deepened as he blocked Qin Wentian's path of retreat. Qin Wentian stared at old Mo as he pointed his finger at Hua Xiaoyun. Coldly, he stared at old Mo. This bastard caused Qingqing to become like this. You don't want to kill him but want to obstruct me? What does the matters of the Mo residence have to do with you? Old Mo berated. This Qin Wentian was simply too impudent. What does the matters of the Mo residence have to do with me? I can't be bothered with the matters of the Mo residence. But now, the one in trouble is Qingqing. Qin Wentian's voice was cold to the extreme, as though it came from the depths of hell. Taking another step forward, he icily stated to old Mo, "Old bastard, scram for me." You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.